Markion Rowe be like,
My name is Markion Rowe, and leader of the Nihil. I want to build a wall, and I'll call it the Storm Wall. And it will be the best wall in the galaxy.
Heck
It'll be
no.
huge. No one can get through. Not the Republic, not the Jedi. It'll be the best wall. It'll be the best wall ever. My followers will find rest knowing that Nihil borders will be safe. So let's make the Outer Rim safe again.
Oh no!
Oh, heck no.
How did you do that?
I found an AI voice thing on just Googling it. You only
That
could
needs to go viral. So good.
you could only do like 100 characters. So I had to like write multiple things and like paste them together.
Jeremiah, you gotta clip that for our Instagram. It's gonna you have to do more work, but you have to do that.
Really?
That was good. That's the best intro so far. Way better than 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another booktastic episode of Empire Radio. I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And I'm Grace.
And we are back with the High Republic adult novel, Phase 3, The Eye of Darkness.
Ooh.
You're a little late on that, but all right. Well, we're back. And it's been a while because it's been, almost 2 years since the end of Phase 3 when we did that book review. So it's been a while.
Really?
Yeah, because I remember Andrew came back for that Fallen Star review, and that was like April or something of 2022. So pretty close 2 years, but we're back. The Eye of Darkness is the fourth book of this story that we've been doing. So we've only been doing the adult novels, but if you are listening to this and you've read this book and you want a little bit more backstory, go click on Comics with Grace #1 when Grace went over the Porter Engel comics. And so that's a little backstory for some of the characters in this story. And so go check that out because Grace will be with us every once in a while doing some comics and doing stuff like kind of like an EU with Andrew format of a presentation. She thought that it would be great to do that story, the Porter Engel comics, because it was relevant to this book. So go check that out if you like this book and you like Porter Engel. If you haven't heard that story, Grace did a good job doing that presentation. So go check that out.
Yeah, that was a really good presentation. I finished it. It was really good.
Awesome.
You guys flatter me. But real talk, like if you're interested in getting into High Republic comics, it is a really good one to start with because it's pretty short. You can get through it in a night, and it does provide, like, I would say, pretty essential background for this book.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, we got a lot to go over tonight in this book.
So much.
And so we're gonna try and go pretty fast, pretty quick, best we can. But first up, we're gonna have Grace do a quick recap of those first 3 books, just quick 10 minutes, just so we can have a refresher on what happened there, because this story is a direct sequel to those 3 books. So Grace, take it away.
Yeah, so I'm sure Phase 1 is really like right at the front of everyone's minds, you know. It was definitely not at the front of my mind when I went back to write these down. Also because there's been Phase 2, and Phase 2 is like back an additional 150 years in the past, so it's like a prequel to a prequel. Anyway, it was fun getting back into these. Obviously, these books are super complicated, so I did my best. I won't be covering every single detail of the first 3 books, but I guess I'll just jump into it. And I wrote out a little script. I'll do my best to read it both quickly, but also with a little bit of dramatic intonation so it doesn't get too boring.
Cool.
Okay, so the first book of Phase 1, The Light of the Jedi. This book begins with the Great Disaster, the crashing of the Legacy Run, and the emergences that are coming out of hyperspace at random intervals and threatening the safety and well-being of the people and planets across the galaxy. As the Legacy Run crashes and the emergencies begin, the Jedi are dispatched to help deal with the growing emergency. These Jedi are led by Jedi Master Avar Kriss. The Jedi soon come face to face with the Nihil, a shadowy organization of space pirates. The Nihil are led by 3 Tempest Runners and the shadowy, I wrote shadowy twice, Eye of the Nihil, Markion Rowe. Marcian's power and influence comes from his ability to navigate uncharted paths through hyperspace using the mysterious capabilities of Mari Senteca, a woman who is being artificially kept alive to serve the nefarious aims of the Nihil. The planet of Hetzal is the first planet to be put at extreme risk as a result of the emergences. Jedi Master Loden Greatstorm and his Padawan, Bel Zettifar, respond to the scene of the disaster and support the evacuation of the citizens from the planet. Avar helps to unify the Jedi in a single Force connection, listening to the Song of the Force and saving many lives on the planet of Hetzal. Lena So, the Chancellor of the Republic, calls a meeting to address the grave threat of the emergencies and look for answers. Lena So insists that the dedication of Starlight Beacon occur on schedule so that the people of the galaxy do not lose hope in the face of such conflict. Avar and her longtime friend Elzar Mann start to investigate the explanation behind the great disaster. Meanwhile, Bel, Loden, Indira Stokes, and Porter Angle investigate a potential lead on the planet Elfrona. As the conflict continues to worsen, the Jedi debate whether or not they should even be involved in this conflict to begin with. Loden is captured by the Nihil, and Marchion Ro starts to reveal his larger plan to take control of the Nihil and punish the Jedi. Starlight Beacon is officially dedicated, and Indira Stokes takes on Bel as a Padawan, despite the fact that he is still grieving Loden and strongly believes that he is alive. Avar is named Marshal of Starlight Beacon, but the story ends on a dark note as Elzar experiences a Force vision filled with death and despair, featuring scenes of Jedi feeling a new evil wave sweeping the galaxy. And that is the end of book 1. Book 2.
Forgot all about that. All right.
Right? You and me both. I was reading back over some of that plot summary and I was like, Indira who? But anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Book 2. The Rising Storm. The High Republic, The Rising Storm, delves into the aftermath of the Legacy Run disaster. The Rising Storm picks up 1 year after the events of Light of the Jedi, and the great hyperspace disaster is still fresh in everyone's mind. But at the same time, the galaxy is eager to move on. Chancellor Lena So and the Jedi are pushing ahead with their grand mission of unity and peace within the galaxy and bringing in the Outer Rim to the larger fold. One of Lena So's main initiatives is the Republic Fair, to be held on the planet of Valo. The Republic Fair is meant to symbolize a celebration of peace, unity, and hope for the galactic frontier. At the start of the book, Elzar is being plagued by terrible visions of a dark future. Meanwhile, Stellan Gios has been appointed to the Jedi Council. Bel Zettifar is still adjusting to life without his old master Loden, but has found companionship with his charhound Ember. Loden had told Bel that he's ready to become a Jedi Knight, but Bel doesn't feel like he's ready and chooses to remain a Padawan under Master Indira. Bel gradually attempts to overcome his fears and reconnect and trust in the Force. This book also introduces us to Ty Yorick, a Jedi who has left the Order and is forging her own path in the galaxy. Elzar believes that he has prevented his dark visions from coming to fruition after the Republic Fair seems to be going well. He also begins to develop a romantic relationship with a reporter on Valo, in a seeming attempt to leave behind some of his feelings for Avar Kriss. The Jedi then discover and arrest Ty and the buyer that she is working with after seeing them test out some sort of machinery that can shut down electronics, including a lightsaber blade. As all of this is going on, Marchion Ro has cooked up a deadly plan to disrupt the galactic fair and demonstrate to the galaxy that the terrible power of the Nihil. He executes a cunning surprise attack on the galactic fair, taking Lena So and the Jedi and the galaxy as a whole by surprise. After the fair's main event, a Nihil fleet arrives on Valo using the paths to bombard the planet and killed many spectators and Jedi. As the storm of the Nihil descends on Valo, Stellan Gios becomes an enduring symbol of hope for the galaxy, with images of him rescuing Lena So from the rubble of Valo streamed across the galaxy. Lena So falls into a coma after falling prey to this orbital explosion. Ty, Yorick, and Elzar form a Force Dyad, which allows them to tame a dragon-like beast and hamper the Nihil's efforts from the sky. Though in doing this, Elzar is forced to touch on the dark side of the Force. Okay, I'll skip over that. Ultimately, the Jedi are able to deduce the location of the Nihil's secret base on Grizzal and arrive to ambush the Nihil marauders. Ro and the Nihil escape on the Nihil ship, the Gaze Electric, while Lorna D, one of the Tempest runners, is captured by the Jedi, who they believe is the leader of the Nihil. Finally, Marchion Ro releases his ultimate weapon, the Leveler, and it petrifies Loden in front of Bell. Stellan touches Loden's cheek and Loden turns to dust. Stellan remarks this is the first time he has ever felt fear since he was a child, and once again the book ends on a dark and foreboding note as Marchion Ro continues to consolidate power in the galaxy.
Fun.
So that one was uplifting. I'm curious what you guys thought in that second book, by the way. I was totally shocked when Loden dies.
I think everyone was.
Yeah.
But R.I.P. What are you going to do?
R.I.P. I know. Dead too soon. Okay. Last book. I'll zip through it. Okay. The Fallen Star. The tragic events of the Republic Fair have galvanized the galaxy. The Jedi and the Republic have gone on the offensive to stop the marauding Nihil. With these vicious raiders all but defeated, or at least seemingly, Jedi Avar Kriss has her sights set once again on Lorna D, the supposed eye of the Nihil. Across the galaxy, other Jedi take action against Nihil vessels in a coordinated effort to capture and stop the threat they pose to the galaxy. Padawans Bel Zettifar and Buryaga Agaburi accompany the Jedi Masters Nibasik and Indira Stokes on a successful mission, while elsewhere Jedi Reginald Cole mistakenly captures Chancey Yarrow and Nan, believing they still work for the Nihil. Despite the Jedi's efforts, however, it is revealed on the Nihil starship Gaze Electric that all these captured or destroyed ships were loyal to Lorna D. Marchion Ro, the eye of the Nihil, is unfazed by the Jedi's efforts and revels in the misguided attempt by the Jedi to capture Lorna D, falsely believing that she is the eye. Meanwhile, Jedi Master Stellan Gios is now the Marshal of Starlight Beacon after Jedi Avar Kriss left to hunt Lorna D. His tenure as Marshal begins with the Starlight Beacon's response to the cyclone disaster on the planet of Iram to help rebuild infrastructure vital to the planet's water supply. Meanwhile, at the start of the book, Elzar Mann is still recovering from his use of the dark side of the Force, and he is working under the tutelage of Jedi Wayseeker Orla Jareni to learn to control his emotions and draw away from the darkness. Man ultimately decides to limit his access to the Force to protect himself and others from the dark side. Ultimately, Elzar and Orla meet up with the crew of the vessel, which is composed of Geode, Affy Hollow, and Liak Jossi, and they all set course for Starlight Beacon. As Starlight Beacon orbits Iram, Marchion Ro begins his carefully orchestrated plan to destroy the station, first through a coordinated attack on worlds throughout the galactic space, and then on Starlight Beacon itself. The early attacks cause an influx of refugees to Starlight Beacon from across the Outer Rim, all fleeing and looking for a safe haven. The chaos and confusion allows Marchion spies to arrive on Starlight Beacon unnoticed and unquestioned with dangerous cargo, 7 levelers or nameless. They set the spies of Marchion ultimately set off bombs on Starlight Beacon, and it unleashed the levelers. In the midst of the conflict, the crew of the vessel takes action to disrupt the Nihil attacks on civilians before trying to get people off the beacon. Bel Zettifar and Buryaga set up residents in the Med Tower to help refugees, while Stellan coordinates the Republic response. Ultimately, Stellan is forced to sacrifice his life to save as many people as possible on Starlight Beacon and Iram. Many Jedi and civilians die in the ultimate crash of Starlight Beacon, and Marchion Ro finally officially declares himself as the leader of the Nihil, casting the galaxy into even greater chaos.
Fun. All right, cool. Thank you. It all came back. It all makes sense. But yeah, so we'll jump into a quick summary overall idea of what's going on in this book now, The Eye of Darkness. So takes place about a year after the fall of Starlight Beacon. And what the Nihil have done is they set up something called the Storm Wall, which is made up of these storm seeds scattered all across this portion of the Outer Rim where it stops ships from going into hyperspace. And so any ship that tries to go through that wall in light speed will get instantly torn out and shredded into a million pieces, basically instant death. And if you are inside or on the other side of the wall in Nihil space and you're flying around, you're not authorized to fly around, they have these scav droids that will just attack your ship and destroy you. So the Jedi and the Republic cannot go into Nihil space because they could, but they said if it would take it would take a couple hundred years just to get to the next star system if you were going sublight speed. So like in order to get inside, they would never be able to reach anyone ever. And so it's basically no way in and no way out, because if you try and do hyperdrive through from the inside to the outside, it's the same thing happens. So everyone's trapped on the inside of Nihil space and no one can get in. And so this story basically follows all these different stories of people on the inside of the Nihil space and on the Jedi and Republic side, the Republic space of that wall. And so it's basically how are we supposed to get through this wall from the Republic's point of view, and how they're going to rescue and take down the Nihil while people on the inside are trying to scheme and find their way out. And so there's good people on the inside that are trying, like some Jedi that will go over, and some regular civilians and whatnot that will meet. And then you have the Senate and the Jedi Council trying to study the wall and try and find a way in. And so that is the summary of the whole book. But we will go over some overall thoughts, and then we'll go kind of character by character, because each character has kind of a distinct storyline, which I think makes this book really easy to follow if you're reading, because it's very easy stories. Even though there's a lot of storylines, I think it's fairly easy. But overall thoughts on this book. We'll start with Grace. What did you think of this book?
Yeah, I really liked it. It was really nice to be back with these characters after so long. It's pretty crazy that it was basically like a 2-year gap in between the stories. And it definitely took me a little bit of time to get back into the swing of things, remember who everyone was, why I cared about them. But when I did, it was a lot of fun, and it was pretty interesting to see how the different characters were coping with, all of the crazy and tragic events that had happened in the last book. Even Avar, who had been such a beacon of light and positivity and hope, was really struggling. And that was pretty interesting to see. I was really glad to see Belle and Buryaga back together. And I really liked the, interplay between Lena So and Elzar Mann and Coruscant as well, as far as like Star Wars politics goes. I felt like that was pretty top notch. So yeah, I would say net a positive. I just wish it had taken less than 2 years to get here.
Do you have any?
That's fair.
Do you have any negative thoughts, like things you didn't like about the book?
I guess I wish it had connected a little bit more explicitly to Phase 2. Phase 2 was nice in the sense that it gives you some background on the Levelers and the Nameless. It gives you a bit of background on Marchion Ro's family. But I still feel like I'm struggling to understand, specifically what Marchion's motivations are. I'd love to understand why he hates the Jedi so much, or if it's just because he wants to have power. So maybe that's going to come in the next 2 books. I'm not exactly sure, but that's like the big question I still feel like the story needs to answer for me before I'm like fully committed.
All right, cool. Interesting. Drew?
Are we aware when the next one's coming out?
June.
Oh.
It's pretty soon.
Yeah.
I like this book a lot. I don't remember which one it was, but one of them was really hard to follow.
It was the second book.
Yeah.
It was like all over the
There's
place.
like 4,000 characters in that book.
Yeah. Many of them never came back, right? Like Kai Yorick, have we ever seen her again?
I think there's like all the other books, like all these storylines are in other books, like the junior novels and the young adult novels and comics and stuff, like all kinds of stuff. But
that's like my only complaint, honestly. Like I like this book a lot. I think it started out like super aggressive, and like you're going the whole time. Like there's never really like a dull moment throughout this book. And I feel like with some Star Wars books, you get that. Okay, what are we doing? Like, let's get there. And like, I didn't really feel like that. Like every little story, every character that was like, even if they're just like traveling by themselves with a Ugnaught, like that stuff was super fun and really, really entertaining throughout this book. And I really liked it. But like, my issue with the High Republic itself as like a thing is like the goal is for them to keep having people read everything, and this is not practical. Like it just doesn't.
Yeah,
like you can't expect people to read the young adult novels and like all the comics. It's just not practical.
Like I'm guessing by the end of Phase 3, when it's all said and done, there's probably going to be like 30 different books to tell like all the whole story of all those storylines, because you have like that one story of like the Gringer or something, Gringier, like that.
Oh,
like,
the Drangier.
Yeah, like that plant monster thing, whatever it is.
That's in the young adults books, but then it's also in the comics. And then like half of Avar's story takes place like across the comics, which is why she's not really in the books. It's super confusing.
Did the rock guy die?
No.
Like Geode, he's still alive.
Was he in this book?
No.
That's what I thought. I was like, did I miss something? I missed Geode. Yeah. I still remember, Grace, you got to go back and watch our review because Jeremiah didn't realize that he was an actual rock. And we had to explain, like, dude, no, he's like a rock. Like
I thought he was just like a guy that was covered in rock texture and looked like a rock when he's
like Korg in Marvel.
Yeah, that's what I pictured. But whatever, that's a whole.
But he was an actual rock.
Anyway.
Did you see like the picture of him? I think it was in a comic or something. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Or like, no, look at this picture.
But anyway,
but yeah, I don't know. I really like the book. I really like Rogue. Like he is like the baddest bad guy. Like we get all these bad guys in Star Wars, and I feel like he is the scariest bad guy we've ever seen.
Really?
I think so.
Wow. Okay.
Like in the sense of like, okay, we have Sith Lords and like Palpatine, but like this is different. And like he's just like he doesn't have a filter. Like there's no political. Like he's not trying to manipulate people. Like he's just straight up like I'm just a bad guy. Like there's no sugarcoating anything. He doesn't want to play the politic game. He doesn't want to be part of anything. He just wants to be a bad guy. I want everyone to be scared of me, and it's working. It's working. So I don't know, I really like him. I can't wait for his fall and his death. Like it's keeping me reading these books because I want to see how it ends. Like, you know what I mean? Right. And I don't know. I liked it. I really liked this book, and I thought it was really good. Like, I don't know. I like the writer too. I think he did a really good job.
Yeah. I really like this book too. Like, this might be a hot take, but I think this is my favorite Star Wars book that I've read so far.
What?
Now, I've only read like
he hasn't read Lost Stars, so it's
been
okay
like
this,
I think I've read 11 books plus Jedi Dooku or Dooku Jedi Lost, which is an audio drama, which is a different book, but I still read it, whatever. But like, I think it's the best one that because like literally, I'm every chapter I'm like, when's crap gonna hit the fan? What's something bad's gonna happen? Like every chapter I'm going to like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna change? What's the new thing that Markion has under his sleeve that he's gonna pull out? Like, is another Jedi gonna die? Like everything, I was like waiting for something bad to happen and something cool to happen and learn what's going on. Like you mentioned, you really like the author. Like I really like the author's how he maybe like every book does this, but like I really felt like the descriptions of everything's going on, everything that's like in like the Thrawn novels, like Thrawn has his inner monologue of what he's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But like here, like just like the regular paragraphs of describing what happened, it's kind of like taking on the inner thoughts of the characters in those scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like an inner monologue of these people. And like it was just felt more real, more like in depth. And I really liked how he described things because it came from the perspective of the observer rather than just a watcher on the outside describing what's happening. So I really like that.
I thought it was really good. I don't know what other books he's done.
Yeah, what else has he done in Star
Because
Wars?
I think he's done a few of the other like High Republic, like other novels that are like the other reading levels, like the young adult ones and stuff.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so yeah, like I was on the edge of my seat every time.
Yeah. When I started the book that we're gonna review in like 2 weeks, Jeremiah, and I was just mad because it's not the book to lead up to this. Like I started, I'm like, no, I don't care about any of this right now. I'm like, why am I I have like no interest. Like, oh, Dooku's in it. I don't care. Like, no Clone War guys. Don't care. Like, I just want this story right now. Like, that's what, like my mindset is like stuck on the end of this book. And I'm starting this new book. I'm like, oh, no, I'm supposed to like this.
I feel like that's a sign you guys have to go back and read, the young adult novels, the comics, the kids' books.
I'm interested, but there's so much other stuff.
That's a lot of work.
Like we got 11 weeks of Bad Batch we gotta do.
And you already said that they don't really talk about Marcian Rogue to the extent of like why he's so angry and stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that I want. So if you've already done your research, I'm good.
Well, they got like she mentioned, they have the Rowe family backstory.
Yeah, which so I feel like you'd like.
Yeah, that would give some.
Is that a comic or is it young adult?
Both.
There is a Marcian Rowe comic, which is like 2 issues. You could read it tonight. It's really quick and useful, I would say, for the backstory. But then there are 2 young adult novels that tell the story of his like great grandmother and her family.
We're gonna start a new series, Jeremiah. We're not doing this comic book. We're gonna do young adult novels with Grace instead.
We could do that. You never know.
Just so that she can like catch up.
High Republic with Grace.
High Republic with Grace. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's do that instead.
I can get off my High Republic romance agenda. That's really what I want to talk about.
Hey, I'm down for that stuff. Grace, I'm telling you gotta you gotta read Lost Stars. It's the best Star Wars book. So.
I told Grace she needs to start her own podcast, but she didn't feel too enthused about it.
Why would you tell her to do that?
I don't know, because we could just have her like do all the reading for us and we could just watch her, listen to her podcast.
You guys know I'm not tech savvy enough to have my own podcast.
Then we don't get to use her and then
I don't know.
Oh, just go get your own views and then.
Well,
then no,
we'll figure it out.
Don't listen, Jeremiah.
But
just be on ours.
Anyway, so something that didn't really fit into like my outline for tonight, but like I still want to talk about, so I'm just going to do it now. But when I was reading this book, there was something that I thought was going to happen. Like my main like theory on what was going to happen. It didn't happen. It could still happen, but I totally thought that Avar was going to get captured and then she was going to get executed on a broadcast by the Nameless, and Elzar would see that and he'd snap and turn to the dark side and just go full-fledged dark side.
That'd be cool.
And by the end of the 3rd book or the 6th book, when everything's done, he's still alive, and whoever the Sith is takes him as his apprentice, and then Elzar is in the line of the Sith. I thought that would have been really cool if he turned to the dark side and just went crazy in the dark side, and that's how he got in to the Nihil space and killed Markion and all that. I was waiting for him to just snap if Avar got executed.
We're really close to the timeline of Plagueis, aren't we?
Yeah.
Well, we're still like 200.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Plagueis was like really old when he was like a couple 100 years old when he died.
I don't know. That's not even
so like
canon,
we're getting really close to the beginning of Plagueis. Like the Sith that they're mentioning like could be Plagueis, for all we know. Like it could end at Plagueis.
I don't know. I think the Plagueis stuff will be tapped on in the Acolyte series. I don't think he's doing anything now. But
Well, not yet. No one's doing
because
anything.
the Sith are alive and well, and someone's out there who's a master. And I think it would have been cool if Elzar turns to the dark side.
Do we think Marshall and Rogue has any Force powers at all?
No,
No.
he hates the Force. They're against the Force.
Yeah.
I know they're against it, but I feel like he can like read people's intentions so well.
No, he just hates. If you don't agree with me 100%, I'm gonna kill you. That's his.
Yeah, but he could like tell when that whatever his girlfriend name is, I forget her
Gira?
name.
Oh yeah.
He could tell when she was just like, I guess.
I
that's
think
just
she
a
would, because she
relationship,
was so
though.
conflicted. Like she was changing what she originally wanted to do and what he wanted to do. But we'll get into that soon with Gira.
We're only 40 minutes into this podcast.
No, we're only 30 minutes recording.
Oh,
so
okay.
we got time. But like I said, there's a bunch of individual characters and their stories. So we're going to kind of go character by character. And I ranked it by least important to most important. Maybe Grace and Drew will disagree with what I have to say. But first up, Belle and Burryaga's story.
You have Belle and Burry last?
So the only reason I say that is because not a lot happened.
Yeah.
They were just there patrolling the border of the storm wall. And they were, because what the Nihil would do is they would enter into Republic space from the storm wall and attack nearby planets, do raids, and their hope was to capture a Jedi and bring him back in so that they could
kill
him or do experiments on him, all that stuff. So, like, I really like Belle and Burryaga as characters, but like, I feel like the story for them was not a big focus in this book, and that's why I put it at the bottom, because like they were just kind of like sitting ducks waiting for something to happen.
But they kept you on the edge of your seat the whole time because you didn't know what was going to happen.
That is true. But
and Burryaga, we thought he was gone.
Oh yeah,
yeah. What did you guys think about that? I'm curious. So yeah.
Did that get covered in another book?
It had to have.
It was in the anthology of like High Republic short stories, which I did read before this. But yeah, again, like he just comes back from the dead with no explanation. It's a little bit crazy.
That's stupid. I was kind of mad that like
because
he's just there.
Died in book 3.
Well,
he
crashed with the Starlight Beacon, and Belle was like, didn't give up. Was like, if anyone's gonna survive this, it's Burryaga.
And then there's a really beautiful short story about Belle spending like a year, like a 6 months searching for Burryaga, and then finally finding him, and it like reinforces their friendship. But again, like I feel like most people probably won't read that, and therefore this little side story in the book is a little bit less meaningful.
Yeah, because basically the gist is there was an underwater cave system that he lived in for like 2 months, surviving by himself, and then that's when Belle found him down there, which
Wookiees don't dive in.
I guess not, but it would have been cool to see that, but I guess I gotta read another book. But he was just there.
That's my thing about this series. Is like there's certain things where like, one, why would you start this story and then do a prequel for 2 years and then go back? Like this is a dumb decision. Just start from the beginning and go down. Like, why wouldn't they just do phase 2 first?
Star Wars doesn't go in chronological order ever.
Yeah, but that is a good point. Why didn't they start with phase 2?
This is a book series. Like, just start with phase 2 as phase 1, and then we would have read all of this stuff, and we would have been 5 books in right now.
I get it. I don't disagree with you.
It's just dumb. It's just like, oh, well, we have no idea what we're gonna do at this point, so let's go backwards.
They know what they've been doing the whole thing. They don't make stuff up as they go. They just they started planning this years before the first book came out.
Well, I know
that was one of our first episodes we ever done. Was the Project Luminous reveal that they announced about the High Republic, and
I still remember that.
That was like a year and a half before.
Remember everyone, like, they announced it and everyone's like, oh, this is gonna be cool, like movie series or a show series, and they're like, it's a book series. Everyone's like, this is what? What are we doing?
But yeah, so like they definitely planned it all out. So but I think it's just they want to establish a story, and then they want to give a lot of backstory, because it'd be if you started with backstory, it's like it doesn't like who cares, like who's this Rowe family, like why does it matter? I think it makes you get invested, and then you get invested in the other characters, like their backstories. So I think that's just what they wanted to do. Plus, that would give them more time to develop these next 3 books with more backstory than if they were just go straight. Kind of like with the Porter Engel comics, like it sets up a backstory for these characters if you were to read them. But
Grace, when you read this, do you read it or do you also listen to audio?
I do a combination of both. For a lot of the High Republic books, I've just listened to them because they were kids' books or they were young adult and I wasn't that invested, so I listened. For the adult ones, I usually read them, and then sometimes I'll read and listen if I'm reading multiple times.
all right, cool.
This one you just read it though?
Yeah, this one I read and listened.
Oh, and listened.
Okay.
So you know the porg. Anyone else get annoyed over that pigs or not the porg?
Yeah. What is it called? The
Ugnaught?
Ugnaught. Yeah.
Not
His squeal. Yeah.
I was like, bro, you gotta stop that. Bro.
Okay,
It was too
that
much.
was annoying, but I love how they brought back "I Have Spoken." Right? That was so.
Yes.
Yep.
But and no, it's a little bit of both. I was like,
We now know it's an Ugnaught saying, not just a queel.
yeah.
Saying. But
yeah, when you read it, I was like, wait, what?
No.
Maybe it's like Quill's
I don't
grandfather or something.
Did Quill snort like that, like a pig?
He didn't snort like that, but other Ugnaughts in Star Wars have done that.
Gotcha.
Snorted. But
I do love the audiobooks though. They put a lot of sound
so
effects, the different accents. It definitely gets you in it.
Mark Thompson is just a beast. So
he's the GOAT for sure.
But
I would love to interview him one day.
Oh,
someday.
That'd be cool.
We'll keep that in mind. But what was I going to say?
Bell?
Burry.
Yeah, number 2. What's your least favorite next one?
No, there was something I was going to say. Gosh dang it. It was a good one.
I can go backwards.
No. Whatever. I guess we have to move on. But anyway, yeah. So the Bell and Burryaga stuff, they're just waiting for the Nihil to jump out. Because the big plan of the Republic is to capture Nihil's ship so that they can get their path engine so that they can then navigate through the storm wall, because they use their own paths to go through hyperspace. So that's kind of like their plan. They're trying to
the whole book is them trying to get into this wall, essentially.
Yeah. And so that's that story. Next up is the Real Dario storyline. So she is the news anchor person from the Republic that was captured, and she's now doing propaganda things for the Nihil. And obviously she's doing it against her will, and we learn that directly, but you're not just going to randomly kidnap a person and they're totally on board with your vision of what you want in the world or the galaxy. Yeah. So she is doing these propaganda things, kind of like, yay, Nihil. She reported when Pratri Veter, the Jedi Grand Master that was executed on live broadcast, she was there reporting that in person, and people watching could tell that she was struggling and disgusted and scared and all that stuff. So her plan is to, with the help of a Nihil person who wants to defect, Queeth Meglar, that they can put a second message in a certain frequency, garbled up, whatever, encrypted, in these broadcasts of her actually calling for help and telling what's actually going on. And so their hope is that somebody, a Jedi or whoever, can go and help and rescue them. And so that's her plan. So she's just kind of doing the role, but also trying to subvert the Nihil efforts by these secret messages and hoping someone picks up. But what do you guys think about Real Dario?
I really liked her character, actually. And I don't know, I felt like her storyline was significant because you could tell the struggle and like you wanted to figure out what was her importance in this book.
Hmm.
And then you get to the point where she can I spoil this?
Yeah, say whatever.
Oh, okay. Like she learns how to put out a secret broadcast to the Jedi and ask for help.
Hmm.
And so like I feel like that was a very important piece of this story
Hmm.
to grab these Jedis that are in hiding or like they don't know what to do and actually pull them together for this big climax at the end of the book. And I thought it was very important for her story. Yeah, I agreed. Like there's a lot of her story was just like didn't really matter, but it really did. Like I don't know. I feel like her story really did matter because you were kind of figuring out like at one point like we didn't know if she was even going to go to the Republic and be the voice of the Nihil to them too. Like there is also that. Like I don't know, like the way they puppeted her character, the Nihil did, I thought was actually really cool
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
depressing.
Grace, what do you think?
I really agree with that. It was also nice. I guess we had seen her before in the second book, right? Because she's the reporter that Elzar has his like romantic thing with.
Is that her?
Yeah.
And
hmm
Oh,
yeah, it is, right?
I don't even remember that. I remember he had that fling with someone, but I didn't remember it was specifically her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I feel like when we see her there, she kind of comes across as, not that smart or like doesn't have a lot of agency,
A
but
little ditzy.
ditzy.
Kinda.
Yeah, that's the word I'm going for. But like what Drew was saying here, we get to see her like kind of take control of her own fate and ultimately play a pretty pivotal role and, getting in contact with Avar and then Avar ultimately being able to get out of the occlusion zone. So I thought it was a good storyline. Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I liked it because I think it was. They said she focused on fashion and gossip in the galaxy.
Mhm.
And so like you don't think like Drew said like she seemed like someone who wasn't like a smart person because that's just what she does. It's just basically space TMZ, but like I like TMZ. It's a guilty
Yeah, we know
pleasure.
you do, Jeremiah. So it's okay.
But like her like trying to figure out what to do and then being able to work with a Nihil defector, Queeth, which he wasn't like a good guy. He was just wanting to get out, like
Yeah.
because like he's like if I can
You
get
like
you,
started to hate his character, I feel like.
Yeah.
But there's a point where I was like kind of rooting for him, and then when he
Yeah.
started like when he saw the Jedi, what's her name? The Jedi.
Avar.
When he saw her, he was just like disgusted by her and like didn't even want to be in
Yeah.
the same room. Like there was something about it, and then you're like, oh dude, I don't actually like you, like or care about you. And
Yeah.
you're just being a like you're actually still you're literally just trying, which I think is cool. It's written really well. Like his whole purpose was just so that he didn't get in trouble.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like he realized that he wasn't gonna move up in the eye or anything. Like he wasn't gonna have a bigger significant, and he didn't want to get caught once they were gonna fall. Like that was his only reason why he wanted out.
Right.
So you didn't really care, which I kind of like that. Like you were like, oh, I feel bad. This guy's actually going to help her. And then you realize he doesn't actually care about her.
Yeah.
Then you
Though,
feel bad for her too.
yeah, you feel really bad for her. Though I guess Queeth's character is interesting because it shows the like rising discontent within the ranks of the Nihil. Like I wonder how much longer Marchion Ro is going to be able to hold everyone together before there like are more and more defectors. We're either like unhappy with him as a leader because now Jira Staros is trying to encourage people to go her own way.
She's gonna be like, she's gonna be a main character, I think.
Yeah.
Like, cause she's gonna be like pulling characters this way, pulling
Yeah.
significant characters. Like they're gonna be like butting heads within the wall. And it's gonna be
Yeah.
good, I think. And that's why
Unless
I
she
want to
just
read
gets
the next
killed,
book.
but I hope it's the first option.
And if he kills her publicly,
Yeah.
in front of everyone, like does a whole thing. How intense will that be as a villain?
Yeah.
That he killed his significant other because she was like, he is the baddest guy, dude. If he does that, it's like next level bad, dude.
Well, okay, we're jumping ahead to her
Yeah.
story a little bit. So we might as well just talk about her. It's not out of order,
Yeah.
but we're already talking about her. But Gira Staros, so she is a former Republic senator who joined the Nihil because she had the same like issues with the Republic and its corruption, and thought that the Nihil was a good, for lack of a term, a path to go. And so, but now like she wants to set up more formal structure with like a leadership structure and kind of like legitimize them as like their own political entity. And she wants to have a seat in the Senate as a Nihil representative. And she is, and we should say she's not like Markion's like lover per se. She's more of just like a mistress that's kind of like
Yes.
there when he needs her type of thing. So like there's like I get like he can just toss her away because he doesn't need her because he can do whatever he wants for whatever reason. But she's slowly getting backed into a corner and realizing she's way in over her head. And like I think that's the last chapter that she's in when she has a big fight with Markion and she leaves. Like someone else is like, there's a lot more people talking that agree with you. Like, so there is those cracks.
There's cracks in the system.
There's going to be a way. So she's definitely going to be like a double agent in a sense now. Somehow she's going to get in contact with the Republic and work from the inside to help the Republic and the Jedi. So,
well, especially like she literally tried to make them part of the Republic.
Right.
Like she goes there and does like the political game and the way she was speaking, and they almost honestly even brought her into to be part of the Republic.
Right.
And
like
at the end, they kind of
they tried to breach the wall and they expanded it. Didn't they say that they are now officially going to offer her a seat?
They were, yeah.
So it's
but
like
that was
official.
Also before. That was before what's her name got out of the wall, though.
Avar.
Right. So once like they expanded it, they lost a bunch of troops because they thought they found a way in. They destroyed they killed a couple thousand people or something.
No, I don't think it was that many.
I think it was a couple ships. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it wasn't thousands of people. I think it was like 50, 60 people because they purposely.
No, I think I remember reading that it was like 12,000 people or something like that. It was or like 1,200 people. Maybe that was 1,200 people. Like I remember that number.
Maybe it was a lot. I'd have to.
It was a lot to the point where, and then they expanded, and they're like, okay, wait, because these were warships. These were like ships that were going in there to fight, and they crashed into this wall and blew up. There's not going to be 60 people on a warship. That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know, because they don't have. It's not like a real military though. It's just a defense fleet, so it's not like a Star Destroyer level type of. Like
no, Jedi but if it was like 4 or 5 with a few hundred people on them,
I don't know. I have to go back and look.
Will
was in the chat. We could have him look it up for us, but he's out. So, but
called in sick today. Chat, if there's anyone out there you want to look it up. But yeah. I remember there was a lot of, it was like a significant amount where they felt hopeless, and they were like, you know what, like let's actually just bring her on. Like, let's do this. But I don't think they're actually going to now because she got out.
Yeah. So, yeah, I like her character. It's kind of like the opposite of Queeth, where with Gira, you hate her because she left the Republic and joined a terrorist organization, but now you see her as a victim at the end of the book, and you sympathize with her and are rooting for her to make those cracks bigger. And so I liked her. She's just in over her head, and I like how she is in disbelief that Ro wants a leadership structure, like a more like laid out structure of how things and how to have a plan. And so I think it's really interesting how she just is surprised and shocked. So
Yeah, because she's used to operating within a realm of politics where like power is contained and regulated and serves the purpose of like being a government. And I guess her like big conflict with Ro is that like that's not really how he sees power. He just wants to have the power to have the power. It doesn't really seem like he has an end game for like ruling or like having a nihil government. He just wants to be strong, and Gira wants to like pick the winning side and then create something that will last. So I'm
right,
curious if she'll like if she's able to like really take him on and like recruit enough people to her side. I think she probably has the winning approach. Like eventually somebody is going to be able to kill Marcion and everything will fall apart, but he's so powerful and he has the levelers, so I'm just not sure.
right. It'd be very interesting to see how it all plays out eventually. But we might as well keep going to the next character, which connects to other characters. Because now this is where all these stories are starting to overlap and come together, so it's going to be kind of more chaotic. But Porter Engel and
Ooh.
how he relates to General Weiss and Melis Shrike. And so Porter Engel, he is trapped in the inclusion zone or nihil space, and we learned that he's just going from planet to planet by the skin of his teeth, because every single time he gets a ship and goes to another planet, gets shredded apart by these scab droids. And so it's like he's finding a way, and what he's doing is trying to find old Jedi tech, like Pathfinder tech, so that he can use that to rebuild it and send it back to the Republic, because he thinks that this is old technology, old paths, hyperspace paths that aren't used anymore, or it could create its own paths or whatever. And how if he can get one of those to work, he can get it back to Republic to send a message. And so, but while he's doing this, we have General Weiss and Melis Shrike, whose jobs are basically to track down the Jedi stuck in the inclusion zone and capture them for Markion to experiment on, and then ultimately use the Nameless to kill them. So I always like Porter Engel. He's a cool OG Jedi, super wise, super powerful and strong, even though he's old. And I don't know, what do you guys think of him in this book?
I thought it was great. I thought his story was also like a really nice connecting gel between the different storylines. Because, like you said, we were kind of jumping around, but with Porter, we get like a little window into the occlusion zone, which kind of connects to Avar. We also get a connection to Shrike and Weiss and like Ro. And so, yeah, I like that the High Republic has like very gradually developed his story from him being this like kooky old Jedi who likes making soup and helping out Belle to like, you know, him having this like sad, powerful backstory to him ultimately like making a big sacrifice in this book. I don't know. Do you guys think he's actually dead though?
No.
No, yeah, okay.
Him and Weiss are still alive. Like, because like she runs away at the end,
Yeah.
and then we don't see him die, and then Avar is like, if there's anyone who can survive this, it's Porter, which is the same line Belle had for Buriaga at the end of the third book.
Yeah.
So,
No one falls to their death in Star Wars. I mean,
True.
so he's definitely still alive, which I'm okay. Honestly, when they were at the end, when Avar and Porter are in that ship going through, and he's like basically says, "I'm going to sacrifice because I'm the past in the Jedi, but you're the future of the Jedi," and he's like, "I'm going to buy you time." I got a little teary eyed. I was like, no, but I don't know.
Also,
Drew,
I feel like that was so definitive. You know, if he comes back from that, I'm like, oh, you're supposed to be the past, man. Like, why are you still alive?
Yeah. Drew, what do you think?
I mean, I agree. I don't think he's dead, but I also like it was a sad moment, but I was okay if he did die.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it was a good sacrifice. Like he did what he was supposed to do. And like that girl that was hunting him pretty much forever. Like, if she actually died too, like, I feel like that would have been a sweet ending to their story. But
I like when they meet and he's like, "You want to have one last dance?"
yeah,
he's just
he's just like
taking a
a
jab at
kooky
it.
old
Just
guy. Like, it's awesome. Like, I don't know.
yeah. So he ends up making that Pathfinder droid thing operational, getting all the parts that he needed, sends it off. But General Veese was able to intercept it as it left the planet, so it didn't do its job, which I was mad about because
I was really bummed.
I was waiting for like Elzar to be in the Jedi Council, and this droid like goes up to the window at the council chamber, and like everyone's like, "What the heck's going on?" And they get it, and I thought that was what we were gonna get.
Or like Yoda's like, oh, I know this droid. You know,
Yeah.
like
Well, that's the funny thing. That droid actually is in one of the Phase 2 books. I forget which one. I think it's one of the kids' books. It's not like a big character. But that is the cool thing about both Veese and Porter is that they're like connected to this earlier age of the High Republic and the frontier. And so they both know how these Pathfinder droids work. And like, yeah, he's the only one that's able to put one together and try to get a message out. But she's like the only one who can stop it because she knows what to look for.
Right.
yeah. I think like after listening to your guys' podcast episode, like it did help you with those two relationships, and I thought it was really, really cool. And like you actually, I even cared more about that situation at the end than I did just reading it. You know what I mean? Like it built that together, and like that's what I hate about this series is that you have to read millions of things to get a full picture. Like you can do it without it, but I guess that's Star Wars.
I think I mentioned that in that episode how like we're kind of like the people who watch The Mandalorian without watching Clone Wars and Rebels. Like,
Yeah,
we don't
like,
know what we're missing, but we can still enjoy what we're
like we're enjoying
seeing.
these books a lot, and we want more content, but like we don't want to do all the work. And that's how I feel like a lot of people who enjoy The Mandalorian and the Ahsoka stuff, and half of our job is to do the work for them and tell them why. And so finally we found someone like Grace to help us. And for once, me and Jeremiah can have someone else do the work for us. And I'm really excited.
Why am I doing the work? Please tell me I should be doing other work. Yeah. High Republic is more important.
Yeah. Come
on. But so like we get introduced in this book to, well, I should say Drew and I get introduced to his sister Barash, and wondering like, who is this girl? So the question is she still alive out there?
Yeah. What do you guys think?
I think she's still alive. I think that somehow Porter, he's still alive. He's gonna be even in a worse shape than he was in this book, trying to like survive.
Yeah.
And he's gonna be in danger.
Yeah.
And she's gonna show up and save his life.
Yeah.
Like, and then they're gonna be back together. They're gonna be bro and sis taking on the Nihil together. And he's gonna be like have that invigoration of like needing to fight for something because she's there to fight for, and then she can fight for him, and they can kind of play off that positive energy to like be a dyad in the Force in a sense. So I'm excited to see her, but I don't know if they will, but I think she's still alive.
I agree. They can't end the comic with her just like disappearing and then drop the fact that he doesn't know where she is in the book and not have her come back. It would be too cruel.
Yeah. I also think Jeremiah's really wanting this diet of the Force thing to be a thing.
Yeah, it is. Palpatine said it was a thing, so it has.
I know, but
it was true at a point.
You're like itching for this
it's
diet.
My favorite thing about the sequel trilogy is the Diet in the Forest thing that stretched over 3 movies. They didn't just introduce it in the 9th movie. It was, you can follow that
you're not
line
wrong.
of thing. I think it's the
most
best part
consistent thing in the 3 movies.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's Porter. And we'll get back with him as we go over some other characters. So next up, Avar and Beelin. So Avar, which we haven't seen in a while because she was in that first book and then was basically just referenced in second and third book, but she's out in the inclusion zone trapped and she's trying to survive. And so we pick up, she sneaks onto a Nihil ship that has like a grain shipment on it, and she steals it to try and bring aid to a planet that was on like they messaged for help or something, whatever it was. But while she steals a ship, but the person whose ship it is and who's flying it is a civilian, and he's an Ugnaught named Beelin, and he's kind of I kind of hated him at first.
No,
but then he grew on me, so I kind of liked him. But
I just hated in the audio version, but
yeah, so he's like, this is my ship, we're gonna do whatever I want, you're not gonna force me to do anything. And he kind of stood his ground, but like he's had a good moral compass and aided Avar. And so they eventually
should have force choked him a little bit in the beginning. He could have got a lot farther along in the
calm down,
quicker.
dude.
He's like, oh yeah, I can take your ship if I want to, bro.
I don't think she could do a force choke even if she tried. She's too good.
Yeah, that's true.
She's too nice. But so they get to this planet that was in need of food, and she arrives with this grain shipment, and they gladly accept it. But then they're like, when are you going to come back with your next shipment? And she's like,
that part was depressing.
She didn't realize that like the planet was so lacking of resources that they needed continual aid. And she felt so terrible that like she didn't even think about that, but she could just only do one little thing for that one moment. And I liked how Beelin was able to like comfort her and saying like, you didn't fail, you did a single good thing. And it kind of like she was still depressed, but like she like used that as a moment, like a learning experience, which I liked. But
do you think that was also because they were other Ugnaughts? Like that kind of helped him turn? Because for a while he thought they were wasting their time, and then this group of Ugnaughts are the ones that she helped, and then he was like,
they're Rhodians. I thought
they're Ugnaughts.
No.
Oh no,
I think there were Rhodians predominantly, and then it was Rhodians because they're like, oh, the something that was that food that like grew on the planet was toxic to them or something, or something.
Or they had like they didn't want to cultivate the land or something because of their
they're like the
religious
people of all
the soil like had like a toxin in it.
Yeah,
so
didn't they put the toxin in the soil though? It was some sort of like crazy.
No,
it was a weird hippie thing where they're like, you don't want to touch the earth because the earth.
They were a little hippie, but like I don't think they put the toxin in it. They want to leave it undisturbed, and that's why they moved there. Because they didn't want to alter a planet, alter the land. They wanted to kind of just
like the whole planet was built around, or these people were built around shopping. Essentially, they had to go shop for all their goodies, and now they can't shop
on welfare.
Anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's so I think they said it was Rhodians.
Yeah, maybe it was just all throughout that conversation. I just assume they're all Ugnaughts for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't mind the snort. I just the squeal that he would do, like before he would talk.
But no, I think it's that he sees that Avar is sad, and he recognizes that she, like, as a Jedi in her, like, ivory tower, she doesn't necessarily understand like the problems of the average people, but she really is purely good and wants to be helping. And I think that like that touches something in him and makes him realize that like, she doesn't necessarily like, she didn't understand that this one shipment wasn't going to be enough, but like she did her very best and like has a good heart.
And he even mentioned right, like that he was still working for the Eye, like he was still just delivering grain, but to them. And so for him, he just was like, you know what, like this girl's making me do this, whatever, I don't care. But not understanding like her intentions were way different than their intentions.
Hmm.
So like his life wasn't super altered the way other people in the wall were altered, because he was still able to still do what he was always doing. He was just delivering food for different people. So I think it kind of like opened up his eyes and like, oh, this it's not just about me anymore. And like this is a bigger thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I forget exactly how it's phrased in the book, but it's something like kind of similar to, honestly, a theme that we see across Star Wars, like one small like spark of goodness,
Yeah.
or like
spark
one
of hope.
Yeah, exactly. It was really something along the
Rebellions
lines
are
of like
built on
one.
hope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it was cheesy, but it like was a nice
But
classic
it's
Star
a
Wars
Star
thing.
Wars feel. It felt like Star Wars. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you guys think of when they were crash landing onto that planet, when Avar tethers herself to the outside of the ship and is like fighting off those scav droids?
Yeah, she's
that
so
was like
cool.
an Anakin move right there.
Or like Ahsoka in the show. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a beast. I liked her character a lot.
Yeah, why was she missing from books 2 and 3? Like, I feel like that was such a missed opportunity for.
Well, I think it's because
developing
she
her
was
character.
doing those other stories. Like she had her own
Yeah.
books. Because like I remember like didn't she say like she was working on that Gringer thing?
Yeah, she was worried in the comics. She's like leading the fight against the Drangir, but that's just the comics. I feel like
but didn't she
Stellan
also,
and Elzar get the whole books.
But didn't she go after
Lorna D.
Lorna D. Isn't there a whole book on that? Because
Yeah.
in this book it mentions that she was killed, but I think I can't remember if it was Avar that killed her. Like I thought I remember in one of the other books, like she was sent to go find
Why is
her.
Will sick?
She was. I don't remember a book specifically about that, but you're right. I did just write that down in my summary, so it did happen at some point. Maybe that was also in the
Have
comic.
you read all the young adult novels and everything?
For phase 1 I have. For phase 2 I've read like all but 2, I think.
And those are probably the 2. Wait, actually no, phase 3 has nothing to do with those. I don't know then.
I don't know. Like I said, there's a million books and stuff to go over. But yeah, I thought it was cool, her doing that, just swinging around, fighting, barely surviving. But
I agree. It was cool when she was flying the ship. I mean, any scene that she was in was pretty cool. I really like the concept art for this phase. Like, I don't know if you guys saw it, but all of the characters, including Avar, kind of dressed in like dark colors and like shrouds.
yeah,
it looks very intense.
Skimmed it. I don't remember much, but but yeah, the concept art in general is pretty cool because it's just.
I love the cover art of this book. Is the
Yeah.
coolest picture of all time.
It doesn't really make sense because at the beginning of the book he makes his saber with Patri Viter, but that's the only time we see it. So I thought we were gonna like see him more with the lightsaber doing stuff.
I didn't realize.
Wait, can you hold it up? Can I see it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
He's just sitting on it looks like he's sitting on
throne.
like Thanos when he's sitting on that like
Mhm.
asteroid. It looks like that.
Fine, I'll do it myself.
Basically, that's a good line.
Such a good line.
But yes, so Avar, when she's on this planet after she feeds the people and she has her moment with Beelan,
Yeah.
they receive Rill's message of propaganda, blah blah blah. But then her droid KC, whatever her numbers are, KC says there's something else going on, and they decipher it, and she's the first to find Rill's hidden message, and it's like, "Come to Hetzal, I'm here. We can get you out. This, whatever, blah blah blah." And so, all right, cool. This is what we're doing. And I did Porter got that also. He got that message. So we knew that Avar was going to Hetzal. but we just know that Porter got the message, and he didn't have a ship. So it's like, when he does show up, I was like, it was a cool entrance, but like.
And at what point does Avar hear Elzar's message?
That's at the end after she meets up with Porter.
Yeah,
and they're like kind of like safe after that big fight. They go back to
because Porter has the message and he gives it to Avar.
Yeah, and so because Porter was recording all of his messages. Like he didn't just send that one like that we hear him record, but he's been recording like a lot of the messages, and so she got to hear all of them in a sense, because it's kind of like it's implied that she listened to all of them, even though we only hear her hear the first line of the one that we see.
How do you guys think that Avar thinks about her relationship with Elzar?
I think it's a classic thing where the guy has bigger feelings than the girl. I think she's like, Elzar, you're more like a brother to me, type of thing. But did it say in the first book that they had a thing when they were teenagers? Like they did something behind closed doors once?
I thought that was implied.
I think that was a thing, but I think at this point, like she's loves him as a brother, but Elzar has romantic feelings for her. But they could just be best friends, and that's just how he's dealing with it, knowing that she's lost behind Nihil space. So he worries about her because she's in danger, whereas Avar is not necessarily worried about Elzar because she doesn't know either way.
Yeah. I feel like there's some possibility that she could love him as more than like a family member, but she just can't think outside of the like structure of the Jedi, you know? She's too stuck in the Jedi way.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
Well, I feel like also after this dramatic thing that happened, her love for him might be a little bit different now. You know?
Maybe.
Like, it's a pretty dramatic turn of events in her life.
Yeah.
So
could be. We'll see.
I agree. I hope they give them.
It's not Star Wars to not have some Jedi love interest that they're not supposed to have. You know?
Yeah. No, I love it. Like,
Obi-Wan had a love interest. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But this is our first like Jedi love interest, right? Like it's like a Jedi and a non-Jedi.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what makes it work. When you're both being bad, it's okay.
Jeremiah, I feel what do you think about Elzar and Avar being a dyad?
Well,
that's what I originally was thinking myself too.
Well, I think I mentioned that before, like in the comics thing. Like I think that the dyad in the Force was a more common thing in the Jedi. Like it was a regular thing. Maybe not like every two people like were a thing, but like it was very notable.
You two are a dyad. You two are a dyad.
Yeah, I don't think it was like that, but I think it was like, you know, maybe every generation of Jedi there was one or two dyads that were super powerful. So like I think for them it's along those lines that they just work together, especially since Avar has that Force ability to connect Jedi together to connect their power. That's how she saved the day in the first book, was like hundreds of Jedi were able to use the Force together. So I think Elzar's connection with her is just because they have that friendship. They're able to work with each other better, but also with her special Force ability, it's enhanced even more between those two. So, if you listen to this podcast enough, you know that I despise romantic storylines that don't actually matter. When people just put storylines about love and romance in a movie or show or whatever, and it doesn't actually matter to the story, like I absolutely hate it.
Yeah,
it's just stupid.
Yeah.
So like if they just throw that in there just because, like, I don't know. It could be, but I think Elzar's feelings for Avar,
or more.
it works with the story better, like because he's a loose cannon in a sense. Like I feel like he's because like this is like the third book in a row that he's been had issues and how he's just getting worse and worse. And I think that
I feel like we didn't get a lot of his character in this book compared to like the last ones. Like book 3 was like only him. I feel like.
Well, it was him and Stellan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of him in the second book, but that was also compared to like 40 different characters. So like,
yeah,
he stood out just because there was 40 different characters.
I remember that book. That book annoyed me.
Like it was a good book, but it got at the end of that first half was a little
sloppy.
slow. But once they did that terrorist attack on Valo, it was pretty juicy. But yeah. So anyway, to answer your question, Grace, I think there is definitely romantic feelings from Elzar's perspective, but Avar is not so much. But I think the relationship is very unique and very meaningful to what's going on in the Jedi Order and their ability to work together. So it'll be cool to see how it plays out now that they're back together.
I agree. Though I like what you said. Like, I hope it's, if there's any sort of feelings, I hope they're used in a way that's like helpful for advancing the plot and isn't just like a stupid throwaway thing.
And I don't think, I think in this scenario, I don't think it would be this a throwaway thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you are, like Grace, you mentioned, like they're actually 2 Jedi that are making this decision. And who knows, by them doing that, maybe they, what if they both go bad? They both become Sith from that.
You know, I would be into that.
Or if Avar goes evil, but Elzar stays good.
Yeah, like that would be cool.
100%.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing Elzar is gonna sacrifice his life to save her at some point in the next 2 books, probably a third book. But I don't know. We could talk about those 2 for all night long, but
and we should.
So next up, I talk about Lena So, the Chancellor. So this is the first High Republic book that I've listened to the audiobook as I read. The first 3 books, I just read it straight.
I didn't know that.
And so maybe it's just because of the character situation in the story, but I feel like she's very different than what I saw her in the first 3 books. And I think part of it has to do with, one, her voice is not what I pictured it to be. She has a very low octave voice, and it was very hard for me to like picture, not like saying anything about women, but like you don't think of a woman with a low octave voice, like, and so like,
she talks like really low.
So like,
does she have a British accent? I forget.
She has like a slightly Russian-ish. No, calm down.
That's Martian. Come on.
Yeah, that's Martian.
But like, she has like a somewhat like a slight Russian.
It sounds like an old person.
Or like
she's like an older lady. That's what I would picture.
Eastern European type of former Soviet Union.
I'm going to listen to the audiobook after this. I need to remember.
Is she older or is she not?
Well,
she looks old in the pictures.
Probably older, but like I just didn't picture that. But like everyone on the Jedi and Republic side, like she was just powerless to do anything. And so I guess it also has to do why I think she felt different with this, because she was like so like everyone loved her. She was leading the way, was uniting the galaxy and exploration of the galaxy and all this stuff. Like I saw her as a great leader, a very powerful leader, someone very charismatic. And then hearing her in this book with her voice, and then her feeling like she can't do anything really, like she was just a very different character than I thought, that I remember her as. And so I don't know. What do you guys think of her in this book?
Well, I've only ever read and listened, so her voice didn't throw me off guard because it's been the same.
Okay.
So I just always pictured her as like an older lady. So I don't know. That didn't change for me, but I do like the entire. It's very rare that we're. I mean, I guess it's not really rare in Star Wars, but like she's powerless now, and everyone's powerless. And I'm kind of surprised that we're not getting this. We didn't get an add-on story from like the people of the Republic, and like how like, okay, well they're dealing with this problem. Why we can take advantage over here and do this stuff over here? Like I'm surprised we didn't get that kind of story because like
That's
there's
another book that you gotta go read as a young
probably,
adult
but
book
it
or
would make
something.
sense to me. Like it's not that she's just dealing with this issue; she's dealing with issues throughout the rest of the galaxy.
Yeah,
This is a big part.
they do kind of like say that stuff in passing, especially with the Jedi. Like what are the Jedi doing? Well, there's other things going on that we have Jedi spread thin, like throughout the galaxy, helping
Yeah,
other problems and other things. Like they can't just all focus on
the wall.
the wall, which makes sense. Like I think that's good on the Jedi that they're not only focusing on one thing, because in the Clone Wars they just focused on that one thing.
Yeah.
Whereas instead of helping everyone throughout the galaxy, even though it was a galaxy wide thing, so I guess they were helping everyone, but like it was a different thing.
It's different. You don't have like Jedi just patrolling the streets or whatever. Like
Right.
I'm just surprised. Like yeah, like we kind of got it, but I'm like it would have been kind of cool if there was like a different thing that she was also stressed out about too. So like I don't know, like her character was really cool, and I thought it portrayed it very well that she was powerless, and like even at the end, like we mentioned, like they decided to actually make them like it got to the point where they were so powerless that they're like, you know what, like let's actually make them part of the Republic. It is the only way we can actually do anything. And I don't think that's actually going to happen because that was before they realized that a Jedi was on their way from there with a solution to getting the wall taken down. But like, it'd be interesting to see if they tell her that and then they realize that they can actually take the wall down too. There's going to be some like chess piece moves that might be coming out. I don't know.
Interesting. And to that point, like she's a pretty interesting foil to Marcion Rowe, right? Because Lena So's whole thing is like we are all the Republic, and she wants to bring, you know, all of these frontier planets into the Republic. But like basically that's what Marcion Rowe is trying to do at this point. I think he even has the line like we are all the Nihil at the end, like trying to mock Lena So. And he's basically like trying to go from the other direction and take the Republic and put it in Nihil space, which then makes you question like, is Lena So and the Republic even in the right? Like, is it a good idea for them to be like, oh, we should all be part of this larger galactic republic, really homogenous, all ruled by one government? Or like, maybe it's better for everyone to rule themselves. Like, I don't know.
Well, and you kind of realize that too, like throughout Star Wars, like there's still like the Outer Rim.
Yeah.
So like it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know? And like she's like a good, not that she's a good version of Palpatine, but you're kind of right where like she is still trying to not control, but in a way, like let's just all be one big group of people and all voice our opinions under our umbrella.
Yeah.
So like, is that even better? Like it makes you question. But then the issue is that Ro is like murdering people publicly and sucking their brains out with these creatures. Like it's a little different. Like there's times where like, oh, I could see it from their perspective and I understand them. They're like, whoa, wait, hold up. Why am I thinking that way?
Yeah.
He's also publicly murdering Jedis and like is just not a good person. Like, and then there's like times where like they walk up to him as he's sitting and two Nihil people are fighting to the death, and one's a girl, one's a guy, and then this girl bites the guy's face off or whatever. Like, it's like, wait, never mind. This guy's psycho. Like,
This is the
he's just an
bad team.
evil person. And they like they bring it really back to you to remind you, wait, hold up, you guys. You thought he was maybe, but no, definitely not.
No. You are right though. Like Lena So's "We Are All the Republic" is ultimately like the Republic where slavery is still legal in Tatooine by the time we get up to the prequels. So I didn't think about it like that, but
Yeah,
it is interesting. We're looking at the fall of like the great era of the Republic, and like maybe it's because of Lena So, maybe it's probably in large part because of the Nihil. Maybe we're gonna find out it's because of the Sith. It's some combination of all of them. I don't know.
I think it's like a combination of all of it. That scene though, when he was like, when they're describing those two people fighting to the death, was intense. It was so intense. I was just like, dude, this is wild.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it is an adult novel. Like, it's not just some like this. They're talking about the blood coming off her face, and like the guy's body is like just laying there.
Didn't like they say that even though she won, she was so injured that she was
gonna die,
bleed out.
Yeah,
she had a big cut on her arm or something.
She had a huge gash on her arm, and she was like gonna bleed out. And then she was still like, "I did this for the eye." And
like,
then
what?
it's just like, honey, you're dead.
That seems like a mistake. I don't think the eye wanted that. Like,
yeah. Well, he did. So
true.
He's just crazy. Because he also didn't offer her like medical help. Like after that fight, he was just like, "Okay, thanks for the entertainment. Next." Like it just shows you how, and like the way they're describing it through that his partner's point of view and her saying that too, like, oh, he's like evil and making us look bad, and he's doing up to his shenanigans again. Like it was just like, oh, he's just. That's why I think he's just an evil guy. Which is why I think he's a really good bad guy. For people like you said, Jeremiah, like not knowing the Force, and like we are going into these series like, okay, the Sith aren't here. What is going to be bad? Like, how are they going to make these characters bad?
Yeah.
I really like the Nihil as a villain, like, because like we've only known like the Sith and the Empire as like the bad guys in the galaxy, and like that's all we know. So like something completely different. It's just basically these terrible, evil pirates that are taking over like huge portion of space, and like they have the Nameless, like, which is just a crazy concept to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a great story.
Yeah, it's really well done.
Yeah.
I am gonna need a good explanation though for why no one ever talks about the Nameless in any of the subsequent movies.
Well, they just made it up recently.
They don't have a name,
but like,
oh, it's definitely that. It's because they don't have a name. Yeah.
So when I was looking up Nameless stuff, and learning that there's actually like comics about them and stuff, but like apparently what's the novel
for people that don't know?
Yeah.
And I feel like I might have missed this. What is it?
So there's artwork of it, like from the comics and
concept
art. You can look it up.
You can Google it.
And it's just like this white, weird, like.
I keep thinking that thing from. I really keep thinking that character from Solo.
Oh,
the
lady Proxima.
That like not Solo from
Rogue One, the Boogala.
The Boogala thing. Like,
no, it's not like that.
It has the things, the tentacles.
Well, it's look it up.
Google it.
It's just like it's almost like a Nexu kind of, but more like demented and demonic. The cat in the arena in episode 2.
Oh,
so it kind of has that look, but like not. It's more like a demonic, dragonish, cattish looking.
Yeah, that's good. Dragon and cat. Yeah.
But What were we talking
you were
about?
talking about the backstory.
Of
The Nameless.
before Drew interrupted me.
Yeah, you were telling us
Was I?
something. Yeah.
I know. That's why I'm trying to remember what I was talking about.
Like comics or book. You were telling us the backstory. I don't know what you were gonna say though. So.
Oh yes. There's the book, the Qui-Gon Obi-Wan book.
Yes. Oh, I have this written down too. Okay.
So I guess in
Yeah.
that book, the Nameless is referenced.
Yeah, I have the quote.
Which came out before any High Republic stuff.
Yeah.
So there's that.
It's super cool. In that book, you get the like OG Chosen One prophecy, like the whole prophecy.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I'll read it out in a second. And it references the Nameless. So it's written, and Claudia Gray wrote that book, and then I guess she ultimately
She's the
wrote
best
like one of
writer
the
of
other
all time.
books where like the Nameless are referenced. So she like tied it back in, which is
She's
super
the best.
interesting. But this is the prophecy. Only through the sacrifice of many Jedi may the Order cleanse the sins done to the Nameless. The past is not the past, but it sleeps in an egg. When the egg cracks, it threatens the galaxy entire. When the Force itself sickens, the past and the future must split and combine. A chosen one shall come, born of no father, and through him will ultimate balance in the Force be restored.
Interesting.
Dude,
So interesting.
So
like what?
dog? It's a dog.
Well,
That's what I
it's
said.
not that simple of this dog. When I think
It's
of a
a
dog,
dog.
I think of a golden retriever. I don't think of this
No.
thing. It's not.
It's a wolf.
A wolf.
And there's different
Yeah.
ones too. Like you can't just look at there's different ones too. They all have like a similar style, but
It's a really ugly dog.
It's really ugly.
yeah. So I guess the Nameless was a thing before the High Republic, just as a reference. But
Yeah, but like I love that, right? Because it implies that we're headed towards like the Nameless are going to have something to do with the prequels and the prophecy of the Chosen One. So it will all connect together eventually. I'm curious though how, like, or if you guys have theories.
I have
Yeah.
no idea, because that's the first time I ever heard it. I didn't realize that the whole prophecy was in canon. So I'll have to have you send me that so I can read it myself eventually after we're done. But
yeah, Carter Gray is my favorite Star Wars author.
more than Timothy Zahn,
Yes, because she wrote
Lost Stars.
Lost Stars.
Oh,
And I think she wrote book 3.
she did write one of them. Yeah,
I think it was book 3.
And maybe
yes.
like a Princess Leia book too, which I
She
think
did. She
that was
wrote
him, too.
Bloodline, I believe.
Yeah. And that she wrote the young Princess Leia.
I was mad because she
was.
was at the last Twin Cities Con, and I didn't go because I would have had her autograph my 3 different copies of Lost Stars.
three copies.
I do have 3 copies.
Why do you need 3 copies?
Why?
I have a soft copy, and then I had 2 hard copies because I let my cousin borrow one, and then I thought I lost it, and then I bought another one. And then I also have all the animation novels. So they came out with.
Now I know I don't need to buy a copy when we do it next.
No,
Valentine's
because
Day.
I like my copies. I keep one in my backpack of all times. Dude, I love.
Are you kidding me?
You're so okay. We're moving on.
I've
So-
read
I
that
love
book
that.
like 9
That's really
times.
wholesome. Oh.
I've read that book 9 times.
When
And
okay,
it's
so
so good, and Jeremiah still won't read it.
if you are listening and you're ever so obsessed with a book and you just need to take a chill pill and sit down, have a hot beverage, then think over your life. And no better way to do that than with the help of our sponsor today, Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea. So if you want to drink some great coffee and or tea, take a listen to this commercial from Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea out in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Hey everyone, Andrew here. I'm pleased to tell you that the sponsor of today's episode is Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea. If you don't know anything about Wesley Andrews, you definitely should. They're an award-winning coffee roaster and shop in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they make fantastic coffee. The awesome thing is that whether you live in the Twin Cities or not, you can get their coffee beans delivered straight to your door by ordering them online. They even have a subscription service that ensures you never run out of amazing coffee. If you've been looking for some new coffee to try or a way to elevate your normal coffee routine, now's your chance. Head over to wesleyandrews.cc, use the code Empire Radio, that's with a capital E and a capital R with no space at checkout, to get 15% off your first purchase of any bags of coffee or a coffee subscription. I can't think of a better deal. Get 15% off some great coffee, support a small business, and support your favorite Star Wars podcast. In the words of Emperor Palpatine, do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
All right. Cool. All right. So that's anything else on Lena So before we move on?
She's so cool.
Yep.
Oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Grace. Go ahead.
No, I really thought that her like interplay with Elzar was also great. Like they were a good match. I saw some people commenting that they thought there was like romantic energy between the two of them, which I was not in favor of. But I thought that they brought out good qualities in each other. Like their conversations were interesting, but definitely not romantic.
People want everyone to.
Right?
Yeah.
Weird.
I last thing I was just every time like she would say something, it would be like said so. It was just like kind of annoying. Said so. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
But whatever. All right, moving on. Elzar, man. Our poor boy, our broken Jedi.
He's the man.
Dude, he felt so powerless and so broken and was ready to snap at any moment, I felt. And he was just so desperate, pleading with the Jedi Council and like looking for a way to get in, and always checking in with Kavan Tar, because he was working on studying the storm wall technology and all that stuff. I don't know. What do you guys think of Elzar? He was just in a dark place.
I feel like his character in this book was kind of just there.
Really?
Like, we didn't get a lot of them.
Really? I think we got him more than any other character.
Really? You thought we got him? I felt like we got him just as much as we did as...
I thought we got more chapters with him in it than any of the other characters.
Yeah, I feel like Elzar is probably the main character of like the High Republic books at this point.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know.
I think what was it? The first book was Avar.
Yeah.
And then the second book
was Elzar. And then maybe Stellan was the third one.
Stellan was the third one.
Yeah.
But like I felt like every time like we were on Coruscant, Elzar was there. So whenever I was talking about Lena So, he was there. Then there was stuff Coruscant, just about him. When there was Jedi Council stuff, it was him.
I really like the chapters were like back on Coruscant or like back behind the wall.
Yeah.
Like it was very obvious where we were in the story, unlike book 2. But like
it was just Mark Thompson, how he would say in the inclusion zone. Like
yes, with like the scary music.
You're like, oh shoot, we're back in the wall, bro. Here we go. Like
out.
But
yeah, like his character is very much so like the Emperor. Like they're just hopeless. Like they can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Like his whole job is trying to figure out a way to get into the wall. And he was checking with the scientists like daily and like all that stuff. And there's just not happening for him.
Are you guys generally Elzar fans, or like does his chaotic nature annoy you?
I
like him.
I like him, but it's like 3 books, well, 2, this book and like third book, and then like part of the second book of him just kind of like being a broken individual and him flirting with the dark side, and it's kind of repetitive. I wish there was more progress, but like
Jeremiah's like, at this point, just do it already. If you're gonna do it, just
yeah,
do it. If you're not
just
gonna
turn
do
to
it,
the
then
dark
stop
side.
complaining about it. I don't want to
That's
hear
it.
it anymore.
Right. But like also, like I said, this was my first High Republic book that I read with the audio book, and I did not picture his voice. His voice is it's like lower than Lena's voice. Like, he
His voice is
it
dope,
was it almost had like a slight like, I felt like he could be a cowboy, like a low, like manly cowboy. If he added a little twang to it just to like sound like a cowboy, he was there. But he was a super low pitch, but so like it kind of took me out of it for a while. But yeah, he's just broken. And I think now that Avar is back, like that is something that's going to help him heal a lot, because a lot of his brokenness in this was his worry about Avar and his attachment to Avar. So
Yeah. He's attached to Avar, and he's like guilty about what happened with Stellan, and he feels powerless. I agree with you. I feel like it still seems like he's headed towards the dark side, though. If he isn't, I guess I'm like medium connected to Elazar. I don't feel like I love him as much as some people do, but I like that his character is like a different way for the Jedi to deal with darkness. Like unlike what happened with Anakin, where there was like a little darkness and they were just like, whoop, like guess like all hope is lost. With Elazar, he like actually like touched the dark side, and Stellan was like, okay, like don't worry about it. We'll like send you off with Orla. You'll like meditate, and like they like tried to help him get better, which I feel
but
like
then
is not
Orla
something.
died, which
Yeah, then she
also
died.
was terrible for him too.
Yeah.
But like I that scene though when he's in the Jedi Council and then Yoda shows up with
Aslan
Rel,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, I see a lot of you in me to Elzar, about because he turned to the dark side and all that stuff. I'm like, that's kind of what made me think that he's going to turn to the dark side and that Avar is going to get killed by the Nameless, and that's going to cause him to finally
to snap.
So it's like they put that in there for a reason. Like, they don't just put that in there and they're not going to come back to that. So like, I feel like there is a strong possibility that he's still going to turn to the dark side, but like, we don't know how that's going to play out. But I don't know. Like, and he was. What did you guys think of the Jedi Council in this book?
Weak.
Weak?
I don't know. I feel like they just. I don't know. I just feel like they weren't. They seemed like they were lost. Like they literally like didn't know what to do about anything. Like even it was one of those few stories where you feel like Yoda was even like confused on what to do.
Well, I think Yoda was the most competent because he said the key to this whole thing is understanding a Nameless, and we can only do that through Aslan, who is in a sense like an expert on the Nameless because he like fought them like 100 years before or whatever it was. And so I think Yoda was. I really like Yoda in this book. I think he was very reasonable because he was the only Jedi that was actually doing something to solve the problem. But like, I think the Jedi were in the same boat as the rest of the galaxy. Like, there's nothing we can do until we figure out this wall thing. Like, and we got other problems all around the galaxy that we need to help out with too. And it's like you're frustrated with like them because they're the Jedi. They're supposed to like save the galaxy and be the heroes, but like understanding that there's nothing they can do in the moment. Like, what's there to do? Like, they can't just go in there. There's no way in. And so it's like, it's frustrating, but like, you have to like say like, but they're powerless to do something. So I don't know. Grace?
I agree with Drew that the Jedi like council does always to me seem ineffective. So like yes to that, but also I agree with Jeremiah that like this was Yoda at his best. Like the fact that he identified Aslan and like stuck with Aslan even though Aslan had used the dark side and was like trying to help Aslan like work through things like that. Like when has Yoda ever done that? Like where was that sort of understanding for Anakin or like any of the prequels? So I thought that was good. I mean, part of me is like, Yoda was also alive 100 years ago. So like why isn't he bringing his own personal knowledge and expertise? But that's
True.
fine. No worries.
But yeah, it was kind of weird that Yoda literally brought in a Sith.
Well, no, a
Kinda.
fallen Jedi, not a Sith. He just turned to the dark side when he was fighting the Nameless.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he got like driven crazy by the Nameless. Like it was too much for him. And then he
Yeah,
just
because
like,
I looked
apart.
it up on Wikipedia because there's a whole comic series and stuff and books with him. And I was kind of skimming some of it. And it's just kind of like he turned to the dark side and disappeared.
Yeah.
And somehow Yoda was able to find him and track him down. So
Yoda had his cell phone number, dude.
maybe.
I think it's an interesting storyline, and I'm excited to see where they take the like Aslan storyline, and potentially that's maybe how they're going to connect to the Chosen One prophecy and like the rest of the Star Wars movies. I don't know. I see that being like a nice linking factor, especially because it involves Yoda, and Yoda obviously is alive through all of this.
All right, cool. So we haven't really directly talked about Markion a lot, so we can probably just kind of go a little quick on this. But what do you think about Markion? Grace already said this, but I'll say it again. But like, I don't really understand what his full motivations are, and like what he's actually trying to do, which I think is kind of like what all of his story is. Like where he's like the mastermind. He has it all in his head, and no one knows what he's going to do until he does it, which I think is an interesting concept. But it's also like, I don't know what to think about him. I don't know how to understand his character because I don't know. He hasn't revealed anything to me yet. So, I don't know. I like the Nihil as a villain. I just am unsatisfied with Markion because he doesn't really.
I think that's what makes him scary.
Yeah.
It's because he's unpredictable because we have no idea what he's doing. And it's to the point where I don't think he knows what he wants anymore.
Yeah.
I think his point was to get to the point that they were at in the beginning of this book. And now he's lost because he was able to actually do what he wanted to do. And now he doesn't know what to do anymore.
Really?
And yeah, I really think like he was able to take over these people, trap all these people, make them all under him, all these planets, and the Republic can't do anything about it. The Jedi can't stop him. He won. Now what does he do? He doesn't even know what to do. So I think that's like I feel like from this book, like I felt like that was the issue with it was because he was like, oh, like we're not gonna do anything on this celebration, like or in the year anniversary or whatever it was of the tower falling. Like, well, you know what we're gonna show them that we can kill a Jedi in front of them. Like he literally like he just doesn't know what to do anymore. I think that's the beauty of his character now is that like he's just a bad guy and he is so lost. He got what he wanted and now he doesn't know what to do after that. And like when you're a bad guy and you got what you wanted, now what? Now you're just a bad guy. Like you won. Now what are you gonna do with it? Like I feel like that's for me his character is cool because like he is lost within himself because he doesn't know what to do anymore because he never thought he would get to this point.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Grace, that he has no plan, or do you think he has a plan?
I think this was the first book when I started to question whether or not he had a plan because I felt like before I was waiting for him to reveal his plan. And then this book, I was like, maybe he's just crazy. Like he wants power. He's a fighter. He knows how to fight and like but he doesn't know how to like, I said this earlier. Like I don't know that he has a plan for like long-term stability of like a Nihil galaxy or whatever. Which is, to me, that it unlike for Drew, it's a little bit less compelling. Like I would like there to be some reason that he hates the Jedi, or like some reason that he wants power. If it's just, I agree, it's more scary if he just wants power for the sake of wanting power, but it's a little bit less interesting.
I think there's probably a backstory about why he hates the Jedi. And like there is probably something there in that sense. But like for me in this book, it seemed like it got to the point where he didn't know what to do anymore.
Also,
was just
when I
stuck.
look up the stuff about the Nameless, because I kind of looked into that. So the Rowe family was against people using the Force, and that's why they used the Nameless to try and kill the Jedi, because they would get rid of Force users. But then they're like, no, the Nameless are doing the will of the Force, and that's why in the second book, he goes to like the ice planet, his home planet, and like he unearths the Nameless, like they're frozen in the ice, because like that's where they hit him, so they couldn't do the will of the Force. So like he's against people using the Force.
Mm-hmm.
But
but that's the thing. Like his family ultimately got to a place where they're like, maybe we shouldn't be using the Nameless. So he's not like,
that's what I'm saying.
Honoring, like he's not going
honoring his family.
Yeah.
Or maybe he just thinks his family is wrong because he doesn't believe that the Nameless were doing the will of the Force, that his family just fizzled out. Like they didn't
either
stay
way,
true to their...
This boy is evil as heck. And I love it.
This is one of my talking points that I was going to ask, because I think kind of adds to like why I think he has a plan. Well, one, I don't think he's like, I'm going to put this wall up and then I'm not going to do anything. Like I think there's going to definitely be, he had a plan once that went up. But like we kind of get a little I think it was this one chapter where we get a little bit of detail, but one of his main guys, Bulin, the Ithorian, who's like a scientist who's like working on he's working on enhancing the Nameless to be modified. And like, what does that mean? So I think it's something with the Nameless that he's working on with Bulin to have hyped up, like souped up Nameless that can do
kill
more
all
than
Jedi.
Maybe I don't know, put rocket launchers on them so like they can like fly, and I don't know, like
they fly now.
Or like taking that's funny. Taking that's actually, I didn't even think about that, but right, like if they could like somehow harness the essence of the Nameless and like put that into other people, they'd have like the ultimate Jedi killing. I don't know, they'd have like the anti-Jedi, which then also kind of connects to the Sith. You're totally right. I bet it's going somewhere like that.
But the Sith still use the Force though, so it's a little different.
Well, the Nameless aren't using the Force.
They're eating the Force.
They're consuming it.
No, I'm saying like I think what's cool is like he's not going to become a Sith or anything, because he's not Force sensitive, and also the Nameless.
He wouldn't be pro Sith either. You're right.
Yeah,
right.
He's not going to be pro Sith, but I do
maybe
think
the Sith are going to destroy the Nameless.
I was going to say I think the Sith are going to be the ones to intervene and actually kill.
He was hating the Jedi this whole time, but he should have been hating the Sith instead.
Yeah. I really think that's what's going to happen.
That's great.
Well, then when Elzar turns to the dark side and becomes a Sith, he's the one that figures out how to kill the Nameless. We got to figure it out.
Done.
We heard it here first, folks.
We don't have to read any more High Republic books. We already figured it out.
No more books.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like, maybe there is something with that. I think his goal is to kill the Republic and kill the Jedi.
Yeah.
But I think in this book, he got a lot of what he wanted, and now he doesn't know what to do. Because, like Grace was saying, like, he wasn't actually, like, prepared to run this. And which is why he had his little shoddy in the corner to help run this thing. And even she's like, I don't even know what this guy wants to do anymore, because all he wants to do is watch people fight. on the ground and eat each other. Like he has no idea anymore either. So it's just like a lot of like, it makes you like in this story, he's evil and he's crazy and he's scary, but he's also weak at the same time. It felt like in certain points where he was just going crazy and everyone's going against him at a certain point, or he thinks everyone's going against him.
Yeah.
Like, not even that everyone was going against him, but he was questioning everyone's active and like, oh, why didn't you bring me a Jedi alive? Like, he kept asking that.
Yeah.
When that girl, whatever her name is, the bounty hunter girl thing, the Beskar, that was fighting the old
Vise.
Jet.
General Vise.
Yeah, when she kept coming back, he kept asking every time, I told you to bring him back alive.
Yeah.
Right.
She's like, I don't even have him.
Yeah. Like, calm down.
Like, chill. But it was just like he didn't trust anyone anymore. So like he almost like got too much power and now he doesn't know how to deal with it anymore. Which I think is,
or maybe he has his plan, but everyone else around him, they're not doing their part fast enough for him to like actually do what he wants to do. Like that could be a thing where
that could be a thing too.
He fails because the Nihil around him fail, and it's not really his
They're definitely
fault.
failing around him.
Yeah, especially when they're eating each other's face in front of him and like.
Oh, he wanted that though. He's a weirdo.
But it's like that's why they're failing. Your numbers are going down if you're letting them
kill each other off. You're having giant parties and half of them die in the party. Like, what are you doing, dude?
Right.
But it just shows you like he's not really in control as much as he thinks he is. Because at the end of the day, he's working with a group of people that are just crazy pirates, and they also don't know how to control themselves. Like, it's a cool story. I think it's really cool.
Right. Cool. Now, okay, we're gonna try and go a little bit faster with like the ending of the plot points.
Yes.
But so Avar and Beelan, they go to Hetzal to meet with Rill and Queeth. They go to meet them, but at this point, General Vise has already intercepted the hidden message, so she knows what's going on. They go to meet. Queeth gets killed from behind by Vise, who shows up with a bunch of Nihil to
it was really cool how they were talking about how he was still talking, but nothing was coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty intense.
Not funny, but
it was pretty cool.
Pretty cool. But so chaos, crap hits the fan. So Avar is fighting Vise. Rill is fighting this other little guy that's just like super annoying, like one of the like tech guys or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they're fighting, and then all of a sudden a flaming ship comes up, crash lands. I'm like, what's going on? And then like
you forgot, huh?
I was like, is he gonna show up? I thought he was just gonna walk in like a boss, but he crash landed like Anakin. But it's cool because the ship is on fire, it crashes, explodes, and then he like superhero lands like Ahsoka on Mandalore when he crash lands. Like, let's dance basically, and they fight, and he's able to.
Oh, didn't he say, did I miss the party or something like that?
Something. He said something classic Porter.
Something cocky.
And then Vise is like, oh, I can't fight anymore. I got to get out of here. She leaves. And then Rill is able to kill the little guy that was like annoying her and she was fighting. So that was kind of sad for her that she had to kill someone for the first time. But then they escape. They go back to Beelan's ship because obviously Porter's ship gets destroyed once again. And so then they figure out, okay, what we're going to do is, so that happens. That's one thing. So, okay, they're going to try and go to a Melis Strike ship on the edge and try and use that ship to escape. So that's kind of their plan. The other thing that was going on was Kavan Tar, the Jedi scientist who was studying the wall, saw that one of their storm steeds, which is kind of like the little buoy in space that is connecting all the other buoys in space, says that it's defective, and that they think that if they destroy that one as well as the surrounding storm steeds, that they would be because it's self-repairing. Like you destroy one, another one comes in and replaces it. So they think if they can destroy that faulty one and then the ones around it all at this simultaneously, it would be a big enough hole where they could enter in through the wall to get ships in quick before it repairs itself, before it realizes it. They try and breach the wall, and they think it's working. They start sending ships in, and they all get destroyed. And so for some reason, it still didn't work, and they didn't understand why. Like they were super confused. Like no, like it shouldn't work. There was nothing there. And so because of that attempted breach, Roe gives the go to expand the storm wall further out, and it consumes more star systems. And Bell and Buryaga and that ship that they're on, they barely got out. Bell was like, no, we got to stay and we got to get in. Like, we can go in and help. And everyone else kind of overruled them, like, you're not thinking through. So they barely escape. And so that's going on. And that's kind of when, right, okay, Gira, you can have a seat in the Senate. Like, we're screwed now because we just lost hundreds of more planets or whatever it was. So that happens, and then we get to kind of like the final fight where Mello Strike is, because Bell and his team, they finally figure out a pattern to their attacks. Like there's like a pattern. They finally figured it out, and right, okay, Mello Strike, she's going to go to this planet and do a raid, and so they all go there hoping that their theory is correct, while Avar and Porter go to Mello Strike's ship, not knowing that they're going to maybe meet the Republic on the other side ready to see them. So they try to crash into Mello Strike's ship, and they didn't get all the way there. They get shot at, and they have to like jump through space using the Force and hoping that they don't die, and because if they miss, they're dead. So, but they're able to get in. They fight their way through the ship, and it gets to the point where they have to part ways, Avar and Porter. And like Porter's like, "You're the future of the Jedi. I'm the past. You go. You get back to the Republic." And because they're gonna try and commandeer the ship to like use their path engine. And then Porter's like, "All right, I'm gonna fight off Vise because Vise arrived because they intercepted, because Shrike told them we're getting attacked, all that stuff." So, Porter and Vise, they have their last dance. They fight, and it was cool. Did you guys like when Porter takes that drill mining ship and like flies it in? And I thought that was so cool.
So
like,
cool.
He didn't care. He's like, I'm probably gonna die anyway. I'm just gonna destroy this ship, and he just drills in like the Underminer from The Incredibles.
Yeah, no. Jedi and the High Republic were built different. Like, they're all willing to do crazy stuff.
Yeah. So, when the rest of the Nihil show up, Vise is like, I'm gone, because Porter was like basically dangling on the edge of space, about to die or whatever. And so that's where we left them. We kind of said earlier that we think they're both still alive, so they're still alive. Avar goes to the bridge to fight or commandeer the ship with Mello Strike there, and standard Nihil protocol is to do what? To destroy the path engine the moment you're boarded or get captured or whatever. So that engine is destroyed. That ship is about to be destroyed because Vise attacked that ship. And what we forgot to mention is that Queeth steals that droid that Porter made that Vise intercepted.
Yeah.
And so Avar has that droid's path navigation computer, whatever, and she's able to connect that to that ship and is able to traverse the storm wall and is able to get through to the other side. And who's there? Bell and Buryaga. And she's super excited. She's like, Buryaga, you're alive? I thought you were dead.
I forgot to read the short story anthology.
Yeah. And so they survive. And what we then learn, though, because, okay, so she used the old path stuff, technology that the Nihil are technically using, those weird short jump by short jump type of thing, because from the Republic side, they could see when someone's coming in, but like she was like, someone's coming from hyperspace, but then like, wait, it's not there. Oh, here it's coming again. So like she was doing that stop start thing that we see with those path engines to do the short little jumps. And so, but Markion Ro was like, well, we can shut down those paths too, which is kind of sad because like, oh, the Jedi found a way in that the Nihil can't stop, but I guess they can. So we're kind of back at square one.
Potentially.
But the book ends with Avar going to the Jedi Council and Elzar's there. They kind of say like,
look
hey,
at each other.
He's basically like, hey girl, but doesn't say anything, but she knows what he was saying.
Oh yeah.
And then he's like finally like has like all the pressure and weight off his shoulders. And that is basically that's how the book ends. So it kind of ended on a hopeful note, which is interesting, but nothing has
First
been really
one
resolved.
that ended on a hopeful note. Kind of.
And hopeful and not hopeful. I mean, the
Kind
Nihil
of.
did take over a bunch of like big Republic planets, but yeah, it's hopeful in the sense that like the Jedi are back together and seem to have, the strength to keep fighting.
Do you think in the next one we're going to introduce to more Jedi that are stuck?
I hope so.
Because we only got 2.
Porter is still alive, we're assuming. But I also forgot to mention that Beelan and Rill chose to stay back in Nihil space so that they could, so she could broadcast messages to the Nihil space about what's actually going on. And so
that was crazy. All these people are so selfless. Like, if I was in this galaxy, I would just be a Sith immediately. I can't imagine. No way I'm volunteering to stay back with the Nihil. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting right out of there and going.
Some people are built for war and some people aren't.
Grace would cosplay as former Sith, like just to
She's just gonna be like, oh, what?
Yeah, so I'm guessing Beelan and Rill are gonna somehow get in contact with other Jedi because they're gonna hear the message too, and so I feel like they're gonna be able to be more like they don't have to send hidden messages; they're gonna be more direct. So that's gonna hit a wider range of people that can easily hear the message. So Jedi are gonna hear that and whatnot. So
yeah, I think probably some of the Jedi from like the other books are still out there, but I don't know if we'll ever see them.
Oh, and I should mention that there was an continuity error in this book that I saw when I looked it up. In the original books, the first 3, I can't remember which book, but Nib Asik dies. And in this book, he's mentioned to be one of the Jedi that attacked at the breach. And so
interesting.
They accidentally wrote a dead Jedi in, so that's needs to be retconned if you liked him. So he's dead.
I think it's a she.
I think it's a she, not a he.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's Burry's master, and she speaks Wookiee, which was so cute.
Shuri-Wook.
Shuri-Wook. You're right. Sorry, use the proper terminology, Grace. Yikes.
Come on, Grace.
Yikes.
Yeah, so that is The Eye of Darkness. Like I said, it's probably my favorite Star Wars book. Because it was
crazy.
just every storyline was like at the edge of me, like what's going to happen? When's crap going to hit the fan? Who's going to die?
It was a good one.
It was
not
good.
my favorite, but it was a good one. I really liked it a lot.
Cool. Any other final thoughts on the book?
No. What? I'm glad that we're getting the next one in June, though. That's honestly not that long. It means I might remember some of these characters.
For real.
Right. Yep. And if you forget, you can just tune us in and listen to this episode.
Doesn't help that half of them have like the same name, just like different pronunciations.
Yeah. Elzar and Avar, like, come on. They
Yeah,
had
it's
to
like,
both end in R. Like, calm down.
What? So you guys designed this whole universe and you guys couldn't make up more names? Clearly not, because they wrote in a dead Jedi. And
Bel Zettifar.
There's this. You run out of names. Like you can't really. They're gonna start doing that thing like the first 2 letters of the color of the shirt, and then the last 2 letters of the last food you eat. Like, and that's your name. Like those Star Wars quiz things. what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you never seen that? Like, what's your Jedi name? It's
That's
what's the
how
fight?
like Childish Gambino came up with that with his rap name. Was like a similar thing.
Interesting. It sounds.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
like, what's your rap name? And he did that quiz, and then that name came up, and then he just went with it, and that was his name for his rap name.
Oh, great. Well, now I want to go find out what my Star Wars name is. Interesting.
True. And then cosplay as yourself.
Yeah.
Then sell it to Disney, and then pay for all of us to do this forever.
I think that would be a very boring cosplay. That would like be me in sweats and a sweatshirt, wear a greasy ponytail and glasses.
Greasy
That wouldn't be a super desirable look.
Well, there has to be at least one person in the Star Wars universe that has your same aesthetic.
Right? There are universities in the Star Wars universe.
There you go.
Yeah.
And there's lawyers, so
There you are.
Are there? Yeah. Okay.
There has to
it
be.
has to be like
People get sued all over the place.
Padme was
Yeah.
was Ahsoka's lawyer when she was on trial.
Exactly. Another
Mhm.
reason to love Padme.
Yep.
She and I. My spirit character.
Your spirit animal.
I was gonna say animal, then I was like, that's weird. Never mind.
Padme
All
was
right.
Let's finish. I'm too tired.
All right, well, let's transition over to everyone's favorite time, voicemail time.
Yes.
It's voicemail time.
All right, cool. Well, we have 2 voicemails tonight. First up, from a first-time sender,
Ooh.
a new member in the Discord, Grass Monkey. So let's
Oh,
take a
they were
listen.
they're in Twitch.
Yeah. So
Oh,
let's
I
take a listen to his first ever voicemail.
Hey, Empire Radio, I'm Aiden, or Grass Monkey on the Discord. I've been listening to the podcast for a while now. I joined the Discord a few weeks ago, and finally decided it was time to send in a voicemail. Y'all are totally awesome, and I figured for my first voicemail I'd have to ask a question. Hopefully it hasn't already been asked before, but if you can make any Star Wars game, what kind of game would it be, and who would it be about? Thanks, guys.
All right, cool. Grass Monkey / Aiden for your first ever voicemail. It's good to hear from you.
I don't think this has been asked.
We've never gotten this one. We've gotten like make a Star Wars movie or story or something like that. But what would be a Star Wars game? Assuming probably like a video game. But if you want to make a card game or a board game or something, what would we make?
Come on, we're doing video games, okay?
I don't know.
Card game.
I know, Grace, you're not really a video game person, right?
No, but I'll think of it while you guys go.
I was thinking
She wants us. You're gonna steal our answers, okay? That's fine, Grace.
I'm gonna learn what a video game is while you guys answer.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
Well, let's start with Pong. That was the first ever video game.
Okay,
Let's
here we
look
go.
at that one.
Ping pong?
No, Pong.
Pong. It was ping pong,
Okay.
but honestly.
Okay.
I think. Well, I know that I haven't played this game, but I know a lot of people like it. But back in the day, there was a Star Wars pod racing game, like on like PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 or something. I think it'd be cool if they brought back a pod racing video game. It's just a racing game in Star Wars.
Star Wars Double Dash. Mario Kart version.
That'd be fun, like a Mario Kart version of Star Wars.
Like your old character, and you have a Jedi in the back, and then when you go over certain bumps, the Jedi can like use different force moves on the people next to you.
I'm here for it.
That'd be fun. But we got like some really good Star Wars games already. Like we got the one coming out this year, Outlaw, which is an open world smuggler game, which is going to be the first of its kind for Star Wars.
I was
like,
gonna say
open world stuff is exciting.
I want like that 1313 that we didn't get.
What's that?
It was a game that was in developed, and it was you were like a Mandalorian bounty hunter on level 1313 in Coruscant, and you're like open world concept where you can do whatever you want, design your character, all that stuff, and you're doing these missions and you're being a bounty hunter. Like something like that. Like something like Red Dead Redemption style, but as a bounty hunter.
Explain to her what Red Dead Redemption
so Red Dead.
No. But
Grand Theft Auto, you know what that is?
Yeah, that's a crime. We studied that in class.
Oh, okay. Well, not the crime, the game.
No, I'm joking. I know what it is. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, she got you good, Drew.
I have a younger brother, so I do know what video games are.
She got you good, Drew.
Get out.
Oh, the super get out on that one.
But yeah, so like that style of game would be really cool as like a bounty hunter, where you like do all these missions, but then you can like commandeer ships and like just do whatever you want. You can like lean bad or lean good. Like you can either like play it as like a good character or a bad character, and like you have like a level of goodness and badness. I think that'd be really cool. But like complete open world.
Oh, I love
That's
that.
what I would want. And this new one's kind of open. Like
it is open world.
So does open world mean you can just do whatever you want and it's
So
like
it's like
endless
pending.
adventures?
It's like a open world. Like if someone was playing you right now in a video game, like you could go all around your campus in every room. You could go whatever. So like Grand Theft Auto is kind of like one of the biggest like open world type.
yeah,
like,
or Red Dead, which is the same version except for like cowboy version.
Yeah, so like
Okay.
Grand Theft Auto 5, which is the last one that was released, but they were coming out with 6, but that took place in Los Angeles, and it was a massive map where like there's like the circle of like the highway that goes around the whole city. Like if you were to get in a car or steal a car and drive around that whole circle, it would I think it took me a half hour to drive all the way around that whole circle. That's how big the map is. And then you have all like it's all like completely detailed with buildings and roads and bridges.
And they're like the same. So like there's so many TikToks and like stuff, shorts and reels or whatever, where people are like, "Oh, I remember this building from Grand Theft Auto. Like I remember playing this."
Yeah, so like in
like
real
the
life,
architect
like
is the exact same.
It's very like 1-for-1 to like LA. So if you've been to LA, like when I lived in LA for 4 months, there's literally places that I'm playing the game, and it's literally where I was. Like this park looks exactly what it was when I was there. If you go to Santa Monica Pier in the game, it's exactly the same like
angles. Like you're looking up at the sun. You can do it.
Docks and
in open worlds, like you can do whatever you want. Like you can spend the whole game like. So Red Dead Redemption is like the same people, except they did like a cowboy version.
Okay.
And you can spend hours upon hours, and all you do is just hunt deer.
You could do that if you want.
Like if you want to just go
that's what
hunting,
I wanted to do. Wow.
Like you can just go hunting, or I used to play Grand Theft Auto just to get the coolest cars, and then like do enough stuff and steal enough money just to make my car cool, and never actually do any of the missions in the game.
Did you ever buy the golf course?
No, I never even played. I don't even think I played this new one. So I used to play what's like the competitor one, Saints Row. I used to play that game on Xbox because it wasn't Grand Theft Auto wasn't on Xbox 360 yet.
Right, but. I haven't played video games in a while though. But
Grace, I only play Fortnite.
Grace, do you have any games like you could do your?
Yeah, no. I have a game. I have my proposal. Padme's Fashion Emporium. The game would be, or Passion Adventure maybe, because the game would be that you're Padme, and you have to go on various missions to acquire different pieces of her wardrobe. So I kind of foresee, traveling the galaxy, doing some side quests, accumulating those weird hair. Yeah, flirting with guys, fine. Accumulating weird hair pieces and crazy dresses. And then,
fashion show game.
Yeah, no, exactly. And, it'd be marketed to girls or guys who like fashion, and then, anyone.
Then, like, she's, like, on one side of the galaxy, and she just got a lead for an item, and she has to call Anakin. Anakin, I need you to go to this store on this planet.
This just hit the market, and I need you to go buy this from me right now.
Take my credit card. Yeah. Buy me this. Put it
on my credits.
Yeah.
And then he's like, why couldn't you give me your credit card so I could free my slave mother? But whatever. I guess your clothes are more important.
Tomato. Okay, this is more important. I need this bag.
I was saving up for this important dress and weird hat. Yeah.
All right.
That's my game. Cool. I'm sure that's exactly what Aiden was hoping for. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Aiden, for that first voicemail. Hope to hear from you again in the future. Well, next up, we heard from him for the first time last week, but here's his second ever voicemail. So let's take a listen to Owen's quick voicemail.
Hey Empire Radio, Owen here with another voicemail. I've got a pretty stupid question today, but here goes. Who would win in a dogfight, Wedge Antilles or Little Annie from the Phantom Menace? Alright, thanks, and may the force be with you. Bye.
All right. Cool.
Wedge
Cool.
or Little Annie?
I think Wedge would destroy Little Annie because he doesn't know how to be a fighter pilot yet.
But spinning is a good trick.
This is pod racing.
I don't know. I don't know if
I think
Wedge
Wedge
knows that
Antilles,
trick.
when we first see him in Rebels, rescued by Sabine, the Imperial Academy, he's still a very good pilot at that point. And so that's all we know. He's a very good pilot.
Wedge is a beast.
But Anakin at Phantom Menace, he wouldn't know how to do anything really. He just.
I like that he brought it down to that level. Because give Annie 5 years, there's no hope for Wedge.
And there's no hope for Wedge. But
Yeah,
my money's still on.
Anything to contribute.
My money's still on Little Annie.
Now, if it was a pod race, then Little Annie would destroy Wedge. So
yeah, because it would be pod. This is pod racing, and yeah.
Well, and humans can't race pod racing unless you're force sensitive.
That is true. All right. Cool. Well,
and
thank you.
Gas Monkey just said in the chat that those were awesome answers.
Okay,
so
good.
Grace, he's developing that game right now, just so you know.
Okay.
So.
Great. No, I'm super glad. Dropping out of school to pursue that as my full-time career.
Well, he's going to
now.
develop it for you. You just have a credit in the bottom.
Oh,
of it.
great.
Yeah,
I just make the money off of
You
it.
get a royalty off every
royalty.
copy sold.
Yeah.
1%.
Okay.
But I mean, you're a lawyer,
I can
so you can probably make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, I know my way around a
Lots of lawyers.
contract. Watch out, Gas Monkey.
Yeah, Gas Monkey, watch your back. She's also on our side, so we can't
Yeah.
help
I'm
you
cutting
out
you
of that.
guys in for the royalties.
Oh, heck yeah, let's go.
Yep.
We'll play it. Just Jeremiah on the stream, please.
Oh gosh.
Dude, I cannot find that clutch. Where is it? I would watch that all day, Jeremiah. That's what we need to get our YouTube views up. Just you playing that game for all.
Padme's Fashion Adventure. TM.
You already have a name, dude. Look at this.
Oh, no. All right.
All right, cool. Thank you, Owen. Thank you, Grass Monkey. Again, if you have never sent in a voicemail, send one in. We got 2 new people in the past 2 weeks, so it's that easy. Just click the link, and where do you find that link? In the description below, links.co/Empire Radio, link spelled with 2 I's. There is a link there to send a voicemail. So click that, record it up to a minute long, and send it to us, and we'll play it as long as it's family friendly.
And if you don't even get it in within a minute, send it 2. Send just 3. Just
We've
send
had
them
people
in.
send in 2, 3, and 1 day, and that's totally fine.
I need to send a voicemail. I just put it on my to-do list. I'm sending one for next week.
Nice.
What's next week? I don't even remember.
We got You with Andrew.
Ooh. Another 3-hour one. Let's go.
Yeah, that'll be a long episode. But yes, while you're there, clicking on that link for the voicemail, click on all the other links. You got a link to go to our YouTube channel, to our Twitch, to the Discord. If you want to join the Discord, click that invite. And there's also Instagram and Facebook. You can follow us there as well. There's our fan email. If you just want to send us an email, I check it every day. I can see if you want to send us something, go right ahead. And also there's a link to needlesslynerdy.com, which is an entertainment network that we're a part of. So if you like nerdy content of all kinds, go click on that because there's other podcasts there that you'd probably like as well. And that is everything. Anything else? Drew, Grace?
No, it was a good episode.
This was fun.
It was fun.
All right. Cool.
Can't wait for the next one. Hopefully there's not a lot of shows.
Yep. Like like we said, next week will be You with Andrew. I believe he's going over a book. I think he kind of hinted at Luke book. But But then after that is going to be our Valentine's Day special, which will be Dark Disciple book review. And we're probably going to record that maybe a day early, or we'll see how it goes because we want posted on Valentine's Day. But be looking out for that. And then after that, 11 weeks of Bad Batch.
Wow.
And then who knows what's going to happen after that. So we're
And
hyped.
Grace, feel free if you ever want to come on for Bad Batch episodes. Just let us know. You can just jump in and voice your opinion if you got time.
Ooh.
Yep.
I call it Adventurous.
This girl's gonna drop out of college
please.
just for this.
Don't say that. My parents would immediately forbid all future podcasting.
You're an adult. You can do whatever you want. They can't.
Exactly.
That's how that works, Jeremiah.
Whatever, Mom. You're not the boss of me anymore. All right, cool. Well, we've been going for a while, so we'll get out of here tonight. So you've been listening to another High Republic-tastic episode of Empire Radio. I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
I'm Grace.
And may the Force be with you.
Always.